PGA Championship Golf with Catherine Downs on 5 Live and BBC Sounds.
Hello and welcome to final round commentary of the PGA Championship Golf. We've had everything, haven't we, out in New York State. Frost, torrential rain, but the sun is out, the waterproofs are packed away, and it's all set up very nicely for an exciting final round at Oak Hill Country Club in Rochester. Our golf correspondent Ian Carter is there for us. And Ian, there's already been changes on the leaderboard since we last caught up with you a few minutes ago before the news.
Yes, Brooks Koepka, confirmation of a drop shot at the six. He's the man out in front. At one stage he was 3 shots clear, and with those birdies at the second, third and fourth, it looked like he might be running away with the Wanamaker Trophy. But Victor Hovland has other ideas. He made a brave par save at the sixth off the back of birdies at the fourth and the fifth, and the Norwegian, chasing his first major title, is within 1 shot at 7 under. It's Koepka at 8 under, Hovland at 7 under. They're the final pairing, and they're playing the par 4 7th as we speak. Scotty Scheffler's had back-to-back birdies. The former Masters champion, who's got the opportunity to go back to world number 1 today, is into third place and is at 4 under par. The players at 3 under par include Sepp Straka, the Austrian, playing the 17th, earning valuable Ryder Cup points. Kurt Kitayama has had back-to-back birdies to get onto the leaderboard and move alongside Justin Rose, who dropped a shot at the 7th, has parred the 8th and is playing the 9th at 3 under alongside Corey Connors and Bryson DeChambeau. But they're 5 shots off the lead held by Koepka, with Rory McIlroy at 1 under par now because he's just birdied the 9th.
Yeah, lovely putt from McIlroy at the 9th. He is, though, 7 shots back from the lead of Brooks Koepka, and in just a few hours' time we'll see the champion lifting the Wanamaker Trophy. Who will it be? We'll take you right through until the close of play later on this evening, right here on 5 Live. Get in touch, text us on 85058 or tweet us at 5 Live Sport. Let us know where you're watching the golf, who you think is going to take the win out at Oak Hill Country Club in Rochester. And you can also follow along as well with all the action on the live text page on the BBC Sport website and app. And we're also joined this evening by the former European Tour player Zane Scotland, now a coach. Zane, it's been, well, just such different conditions to the ones we saw yesterday when the rain was coming down in stair rods, and the scoring's been pretty good as a result.
It really has. I mean, the course has been set up where the weather has improved so much, and then the course has been set up much more dramatically. We've already seen a bunch of birdies, but as we're seeing here, Brooks Koepka finding a difficult spot up the side of a bunker by the green. The bogeys are still out there, so yes, we are seeing the birdies, and we thought, you know, Brooks Koepka 3 early birdies, right, this is going to be a procession. All of a sudden, 1 poor tee shot, you know, now he's only 1 ahead in a difficult spot to try and get up and down. So it just seems to be, I think it's going to be a much more dramatic day today.
Yeah, Koepka looked so confident, Ian, didn't he, as he strode off down the first. We were talking about how he threw it away at the Masters a month ago, and he'd been talking about how he choked. He admitted he choked. They were the words that he used, and he said he wouldn't be making that mistake again. And Zane and I here looking in his eyes as he set off on the opening few holes, thinking, you know, he looks on it, does Brooks Koepka. But this golf course has come back to bite him a little bit, and he's got a really tricky one here, hasn't he, on the 7th?
He has. Listening to him, he reminds me of a boxer going into a heavyweight fight where they don't want to give any kind of sign of weakness in terms of their pre-fight comments, and it gets very bombastic and just trying to send a message out there to the opposition. And I think that's what Koepka does. Let's concentrate on this shot, though. He's playing from the edge of the bunker, out of the bunker with his feet in the water, and then he bumps it forward and makes decent contact, but the flag is a long way away from where that ball comes to rest, and then catches the slope and actually starts running away back down the slope. So he's going to have a long par putt there, a good 35 feet. His closest rival, Victor Hovland, had to hack out of the rough on this 7th hole and then played in from 135 yards, and he's got a good 20-25 feet to save his par. But this could mean that the top 2 here will be sucked back towards the pack, because highly unlikely that either of them will save their par. And just going back to the point about Koepka, you know, he sends out these very positive messages, as I was saying, but actually if you look at his scores in final rounds of majors since he last won a major, which was the 2019 US PGA, he's been inside the top 10 6 times going into the final round, and his closing round scores 68, 74, 74, 70, 74, and then that's 75 at the Masters. So that's not somebody who reserves their best golf for the final day to get the job done, albeit he has been a very impressive winner of majors in that purple patch in 2018 and 2019 when he picked up his 4 big titles.
What do you think, Zane? Do you think there's an element of, oh no, not again, going through Brooks Koepka's head at this stage?
I mean, it sounds like a perfect recipe to go and play a tour that only plays 3 rounds. That's what that sounds like.
Yeah, that's worked out okay for him, hasn't it? Brooks Koepka then with this par save, a huge 36-footer across the face of this 7th green, which slopes from back to front, as so many of them do around Oak Hill, and this one comes up the hill, a singular shout of "in the hole" from one of the American fans around the green, and it's a pretty good effort from the leader, but it comes up a foot short or so, and it'll be another drop shot for Brooks Koepka, which means he'll be pegged back to 7 under par, and therefore in a share of the lead with Victor Hovland, his playing partner in this final group for this final round. And well, after having a 4-shot lead a few holes ago, Zane, how the tides have turned for Brooks Koepka.
Yeah, very much so. He's going to tap in here, but Victor Hovland's got quite a considerable length par putt to stay tied for the lead, but Scotty Scheffler now all of a sudden 3 back is a bit of a threat, but maybe just probably if he's going to make bogeys today, early in the round is probably better, just as a little reminder that yes, he's made the 3 birdies, but he's going to have to stay sharp. He can't go at everything.
Here's Justin Rose now, and he's at 3 under par, playing his second shot into the par 4 9th, up the hill, back towards the clubhouse, and this one lands in the heart of the green and pretty adjacent to the flag as well. Good shot from Rose. He's got a birdie chance of 11-12 feet there.
Just talking about Brooks Koepka and his front 9 performances this week. He's 1 over on the front 9 this week, 7 under on the back 9, so he's got plenty of chance to make hay on his favourite stretch down the back 9. The front 9 so tricky, and the 6th where he picked up the first of his back-to-back bogeys, playing the hardest on the course. Hovland though for par on the 7th. Another long one as well for the Norwegian, 20 foot or so back up the slope towards the hill. Black blocky putter behind the ball, and this one's swinging round from right to left, and you can see Hovland dipping his knees in frustration. That one is missed as well, so the 2 of them dropping shots on the 7th, and Hovland will move back to 6 under par. So Koepka still out in front by 7, but only thanks to the mistake made from his playing partner there.
Yeah, there was a big opportunity to possibly put the pressure a bit more on Koepka there, but Koepka maintains his 1-shot advantage.
Bryson DeChambeau at the 8th, 104 yards out with his second shot to the par 4 from the rough. Didn't miss the fairway by much, and he gets it. Beautiful contact there with that very sort of clock face arms, or what are they, the arms of a clock in the way that he swings. He's hit a lovely shot in there, and he's got a good birdie chance. And just thinking about those drop shots there for Koepka and Hovland, if Rose can make birdie at the 9th, he then moves into within 3 shots of the lead. Scotty Scheffler is off the back of back-to-back birdies. He's at 4 under par. You know, suddenly those 2 players are back in the mix.
Yeah, this is bringing the rest of the field into it and making this final round look a lot more exciting than when we had a leader with 4 shots of advantage.
It really is, and those players bringing back in Scheffler, Rose, DeChambeau, these are the guys that you don't want to let those guys back in. They know what they're doing, so important tee shot coming up here for Victor Hovland.
Yep, here he is on the 8th tee, and another monstrous par 4, 420 yards today, and he sends that one off down the left side, and the ball landing in the rough, clearing the bunker but landing in the rough. He's got to keep finding the fairways, Hovland, if he's going to land his first major.
Rory McIlroy on the 10th, dressed for county cricket more than golf, in head-to-toe white, 130 yards to the pin, and he's yelling at it to go. Just a quick peevish go from McIlroy, and it does. It obeys him. Obedient ball for McIlroy today, and he's had a really mixed bag, hasn't he? 3 bogeys, 3 birdies. Can Rory McIlroy get anything going?
Koepka's tee shot at the 8th now, high trajectory. That looks much better than Hovland's, just fading a little bit from left to right, landing in the darker portion of the fairway as we look at it. And a super tee shot from Brooks Koepka as he looks to steady the ship after dropping shots at 6 and 7 after opening a commanding lead on this final day of the 105th PGA.
Justin Rose then putting for his birdie on the 9th. This would be a good way to close out the front 9, wouldn't it? Just a gentle tickle with his triangular putter head, and it just drifts by, lifts his hands to his navy blue baseball cap in frustration, points at the right hand side of the hole as if to say, well, I thought it was going that way. It'll be a par for Rose on the 9th.
DeChambeau at the 8th capitalises on that brilliant approach shot, bounces back from the bogey at 7 and brings himself back into the championship at 4 under par.
So they are bunching up, aren't they, behind Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau at the top of the leaderboard. Koepka on 7 under, Victor Hovland on 6 under. A little bit of a Rory update then, Zane. 1 under par, do you think he's out of it, 6 shots off the lead? Because I know people will be tuning in to hear how Rory's getting on after his disappointment at the Masters.
It does seem a little bit too far back. You know, there is an eagle chance on the back 9 on the drivable par 4. But, you know, number 14 I think it is, but you got to think, even if he goes 5 under on the back 9, the way the conditions are, you know, the players up in front of him, the class of the player around him, they're not all going to come back. Someone else ahead of him is going to push on, and I think if you can get to around about 9 under, that's going to be good enough.
And Rory searingly honest about his Masters experience, talking to you earlier this week, Ian.
Yes, he was. He was saying that he, on the eve of the tournament, felt that he was going to have his greatest ever week at Augusta. He said he'd never felt so certain of it, and then of course he ended up missing the cut very, very comfortably, and that was a real, he admits, wake-up call, and really asked questions of his mental approach going into the majors. And I think today and this week it's been less about the mental approach and more about the technical state of his game at the moment. He just isn't able to rely on the driver, which is his stock in trade, and he's not hitting enough fairways, he's not getting that length, and he's not earning the strokes gained as the metrics go against the rest of the field that he does when he's in his pomp. So I think technically he's got a few things to sort out to be able to then put the mental attitude to a proper test. Yes. Let's hope at Los Angeles for the US Open next month.
A 71 and a pair of 69s for Rory McIlroy over the first 3 days.
He's battled really well though, Kat.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say to Zane.
You know,
there's a positive.
He's battled.
Yeah, there's positives to take from the Rory McIlroy performance, isn't there?
Yeah, very much so. We know that. We keep saying that he's great when he's on the front foot, but he doesn't normally have this grind about him, and he's really shown a bit of a different Rory this week. And he didn't have his game at the Masters, and this mentally, and then now he's kind of figured out the mental side a little bit, and his swing's a little bit off, but that won't take long. Just that's 1 week away, 1 or 2 good rounds, and that'll be the Rory we know. He had some help from Tiger Woods coming into this tournament with his golf swing, and he said he'd had it on the range but not been able to transfer it to the course just yet. But the class that he is, and that's what happens to these professional golfers, they get 1 good round, something, and they kind of call it the click, and there's a little aha moment, and it just settles back, and I think he'll get a lot of good out this week.
Yeah, it must give you a lot of confidence to be able to still be 6 shots off the lead, having not had your A game and really had to fight.
And, he could move to within 5. He's got a birdie chance coming, McIlroy, at the 10th. So if he can take that, then he'll be within 5 of the lead. I tell you, another player who I think must frustrate a lot of British golf fans is Tyrrell Hatton, who has been trending so well on the PGA Tour, and then when it comes to the majors never seems to get the job done. He has just signed for a 67 today, and I'll go into a bit more detail on that after we see Koepka here playing his second shot in at the 8th and coming up a little bit shy of the flag, and he's left himself 25-30 feet for birdie. It was all over the flag in terms of line, but as I say, that little bit short, and he looks up at the top of the trees and as if to suggest that he misjudged the wind on that one.
And here is that birdie putt for Rory McIlroy to take him to 2 under par in within 5 of the lead, and it's in. It's on rails for McIlroy, and you can hear from the crowd they're willing him to do something, willing him to get the burners on. 4 birdies on the card, 3 bogeys though, and he moves to 2 under par, 5 shots off the lead. Rory McIlroy with plenty of golf yet to play. He's on the 10th.
137 yards out from the left rough for Victor Hovland. He chops it out up onto the green. That's got to sit down. It doesn't. It runs through and into the collar of rough at the back of the green. So a test of the Norwegians' short game to come. Just going back to what I was saying about Tyrrell Hatton, he just doesn't seem to get the job done at the majors. He's just signed for a 67, a final round 67, and he's currently at 1 over par through in a share of 14th place, but on that first day a 77. He's followed that up with rounds of 68, 69 and 67, and this happens too frequently for Hatton because he's a better player than someone who doesn't challenge at the majors. He should be challenging at the majors. I'm sure an awful lot of British golf fans will be thinking that, and I'm sure he is as well. He's shown us how fantastic he can be in the last 3 rounds, but all the damage done on day 1.
What's the Hatton issue then, Zane, do you think?
His game suits major championships. Hits the ball high, he can putt well. You know, we know that he's fiery, and he has these like mini head-offs, but he recovers really quickly. That's kind of part of his character. Again, it's just like getting off that good start. Once he does it once, it'll get so much easier, but it'll be like a monkey's on his back. He's trying to work out, why does this keep happening to me? And sometimes there's no way around it other than you just need to go out there and shoot a half decent round once, and then all of a sudden you think, why was that such an issue? But he hasn't found that formula just yet.
Well, 67, that's 3 under par for the day. That's not too bad.
But it's not in the mix. You know, if he's in the mix and doing it, it's a little bit different. You know, we know that he can do it on the last round, like he did at the Players' Championship when he come bounding through the field. But you know, the pressure's off. Then it's that little bit when you're under the pump. Can you find it then?
Delicate chip here then for Victor Hovland at the 8th from the collar of rough. We can see the top of the ball. He's got to be careful with this. He's not really got much room to play with. Stabs it forward up into the air, then it lands and turns and borrows towards the hole, and beautifully judged by the young Norwegian, and he will tap that in for a par 4. So he's done his job, and a lengthy birdie putt to come for the leader Brooks Koepka, who is currently at 7 under. Hovland remains at 6 under as he heads towards the exit from the 8th green and the walkway to the 9th tee.
Bryson DeChambeau down in the thick rough underneath the level of the green on the 9th. Still 148 yards to fly, and with those enormous forearms from him, he hacks it from the thick lush stuff down that right hand side, just about creeps onto the front edge of this huge green. The pin cut towards the right hand side, the left hand side I should say, and the ball coming up over on the right hand side. So an enormous birdie putt of 40-45 feet for Bryson DeChambeau, who is currently 3 shots off the lead at 4 under par as he marches up the 9th.
Zane, what's the mentality on a lengthy putt here when you're leading by 1 in a major for Koepka?
Well, he's obviously reading the greens really well. You know, you don't get to the top of the leaderboard without that being really on point. But the main thing is just to maintain that light grip on the club, let the putter swing, so then therefore you can then get the pace. It's all about the pace. And this one, he just called the ref over onto the green there. Ian, did you see that? The ball maybe moved when he went to put it down.
Yeah, and I think he was just making sure that everything was spick and span and no rules infringement. 35-footer this up the hill, and Koepka over it now, sends it forward up towards the hole. This looks pretty decent. It comes up just missing to the right edge, but beautiful judge of pace there from Brooks Koepka, and that will be a stress-free par ultimately, because he's put it to 18 inches, within 18 inches of the cup.
Yeah, it's a very nice putt there. For no distance, you just want to leave yourself short ones. You don't want to run it 3 feet by and keep playing the pressure on yourself. When you're leading, you need to just save the energy, because he's going to need all of that towards the end of the round. So he's going to go ahead and tidy up here. That's going to be a good par 4.
Just be putting be putting towards his shadow, which kind of arcs around the back of the hole. In fact, his hands are right over the hole in terms of the shadow, and he taps it in, no fuss at all. So in the first 8 holes, 3 birdies, 2 bogeys, and a couple of pars in there as well, and it means that Koepka at 7 under going to the 9th tee leads Hovland by 1 on that 9th tee. Bryson DeChambeau in 3rd place now at 4 under par after his birdie at the 8th. Sepp Straka, Kurt Kitayama, Justin Rose, Scotty Scheffler and Corey Connors are all at 3 under.
Rory McIlroy pin high on the par 3 11th, 246 yards. Just a slight grimace on the face of McIlroy there. He's beginning to feel the pressure once again at 2 under par, 5 off the lead.
From the rough, 120 yards out, Justin Rose on the 10th. Doesn't get the control, the ball lands adjacent to the flag and then gets a good break because it runs through the back of the green, catches the collar of rough, and that repels the ball back down to the fringe of the green, so he should be able to putt relatively unencumbered there.
And Rory McIlroy is playing with a man who's brought one of the big stories of the week, Michael Block, the club pro from California, who finds himself in the mix. He's in a tie for 16th place at the moment on 2 over par after 3 rounds of 70. So coming into this final round on even par and in the mix in the top 10 in the field at a PGA Championship for, I think, the first time in 33 years, I think I worked it out. And listening to him and his interviews yesterday, he spoke, didn't he? Had the earpiece in, speaking to CBS on the course about how he was finding the whole experience. And then the moment he found out he was playing with Rory McIlroy was pretty special as well. He could not believe his luck. Hovland on the 9th tee, Ian.
Yep, 464 yard par 4 up the hill. You can get blocked out down the right hand side, vast galleries all the way down either side of this hole, a real amphitheatre of sporting spectacular here, and that looks a super drive from Hovland, and it is a super drive, the ball landing in the fairway. That might have kicked off into the rough when the course was playing fast and firm on the first couple of days. This time it just lands and the conditions have widened the fairways, and he's perfectly placed there.
Bryson DeChambeau then with that long birdie putt we were flagging up earlier on the 9th hole. It's about 35-40 feet across the face of the 9th, the par 4, but that one just coming up short for DeChambeau, who's actually pretty hot with the putter. So much made of the way that he hits it and the distance he gets, but he's pretty handy with the flat stick as well.
Koepka bogeyed this 9th hole on Thursday. Has a driver in hand. That one's flying a little to the left. It's going towards the crowd. It's not fading, and the ball heading into the galleries down that left-hand side. Could be blocked out there, or he might get very lucky because he's down in the trampled down area rather than the thick lush grass which is closer to the fairway.
324 yard drive for Scotty Scheffler has left him 112 yards or so into the pin on the 10th for his second shot, and the world number 2 sets up a birdie chance for himself there. 15 feet from the pin for Scheffler. Takes the putter from Ted Scott.
Kurt Kitayama on the fringes, the American, looking for a birdie at 15, and misses just on the right edge. Winner of the Arnold Palmer Invitational in March, one of the designated events worth $20 million. This PGA Championship is amazing. The majors are no longer the most valuable in monetary terms. That shows you the way that golf has changed with the arrival of LIV. This one worth $17.5 million. The winner will take home $3.15 million. But you've got the designated events worth $20 million. Each of these LIV events over 54 holes is worth $25 million when you add in the team element of it, and there are only 48 players playing for it. And this, I think, is going to raise a lot of questions. If Koepka gets the job done, or DeChambeau does, and Cam Smith's had a good day today. We saw high finishes for LIV players at the Masters as well. It just reminds everybody that this breakaway league that is funded by Saudi Arabia, it is it can claim to have some of the biggest names, some of the biggest personalities, and some of the best golfers there, and you can bet your bottom dollar that they will be looking to exploit that every which way that they can as this golf season progresses.
And they've been playing more golf as well of late, haven't they? They've been playing, I think they've played 3 of the last 4 weeks on the LIV Tour, so that accusation that's often levelled at the LIV players when they turn up to majors, well, you know, you haven't played very much, you haven't had any competitive golf. They have been out there, you know. Competitive is a word that you know, you have to use fairly lightly when it comes to the LIV Tour, with the amount of money on offer even for last place, and the fact that it's a limited field and there's no cut. But these guys are out there playing golf, and you were saying before we came on air, Zane, that when you're one of the very best in the world, you don't really need to be playing a ton of golf.
No, we had that chat. You know, I think it's more of an issue of the players coming through. When you're a younger player coming up and through, you want to go and play as much as possible, kind of get all the experience in, and learn your game, learn your trade. But these guys at the top who are competing here, DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka, they've learnt their trade. They know what their trade is. Actually, what they're trying to do is save their energy. They know exactly what to do. So it's probably there could be a train of thought to think it does actually work for them. They come in here a lot more. They have enough competitive golf, but enough energy, and they're rested enough. I think maybe what we'll see is the players behind that. You know, are they getting enough rounds, enough tournament rounds, enough tournament experience to get up there with these guys? But these guys at the top, I think these first couple of majors have already shown that it's not an issue. You know, as you said, they've planned their season a little bit around the majors, so their players can come in hot here, and that's what we're seeing.
What do you think it would do to the LIV versus PGA narrative, Ian, if a LIV player were to lift them, want to make a trophy at the end of the play today?
Well, in bold terms, it would mean that LIV hold 2 of the majors, with Cam Smith having won the Open Championship. But this one would prove that you can do it as a LIV player. Cam Smith was still on the PGA Tour when he won last July at St Andrews. So I think that will be something that will really embolden LIV. I think they will look to exploit that, not just in terms of publicity, but as they court other players, they'll be able to say to them, look, you can come to LIV and you can still contend at the majors. But the other implication is on world golf ranking points as well, and we can get into that maybe as we progress through the programme. Koepka at the 9th has got a trampled down lie. That was the sound of his second shot, and it creeps onto the front edge of the green, and the flag is a good 30-odd paces away, so he's going to have a putt for birdie that is the best part of 90 feet. But at least he has escaped from an awkward position down the left side of that 9th hole.
Yeah, very fortunate there to go into the trampled area where he could get a clean strike. He's in that same spot that we just saw Bryson DeChambeau putt from.
Rory McIlroy for birdie on the 11th. It's 25 feet and it's bending down towards the hole, and it just skirts to the left-hand side. And Rory McIlroy looks up to the sky, takes a deep breath, trudges after it. Another birdie putt just sliding by for McIlroy. He'll stay on 2 under.
Putting from off the back of the 10th. This looks a bit aggressive from Justin Rose, and it misses to the left, and it's run on by a good 5 feet.
Victor Hovland in a bright orange t-shirt and bright white trousers, standing in the centre of the 9th fairway, beautifully positioned, a drive down the middle, but that approach shot skips through the back of the green and nestles down into the really thick, lush rough that's been causing so much bother around Oak Hill over the past 3 days. So tricky chip up onto the 9th coming up for Hovland.
Can Scheffler get to 4 under? This is for birdie at 10. Yes, he can. And last year's Masters winner, who has world #1 in his sights, picks up his 3rd birdie in the last 4 holes. A drop shot at the 9th, but now back in the mix for the PGA. Scheffler into a share of 3rd place. He's at 4 under, 3 behind.
That's a dangerous position to see Scotty Scheffler, isn't it, Zane?
Very much so. He kind of got his wobbly day out of the way yesterday, and now weather's good, making a couple of birdies. We know that he's got the pedigree, so he's going to be a man to watch in his back 9.
Michael Block, the club professional, looking for his birdie on the 11th as well, but just like his playing partner Rory McIlroy, can't find the heart of the hole, just a couple of inches long, and widens his stance, taps that in. He stays on 2 over, so he's 2 over for his final round. But what an experience he's had. He said he's felt absolutely overwhelmed with the support he's had.
Rose with his putt back, and this is an awkward one from 5 feet on 10, sends it forward, pushed it. He's pushed it right, and it caught the right edge of the hole, spins round, stays above ground, and a costly drop shot for the Englishman, the former Olympic champion and the winner of the US Open in 2013, and that bogey drops him back to 2 under par, 5 off the lead with 8 to play.
Rory McIlroy looking to tap in for his par on the 11th, casting a really vivid black shadow now that the sun's come out. In Rochester, in New York State, and in it goes for Rory McIlroy, but he was hoping for a lot better, was the Northern Irishman. And a bit of a smile to his caddy Harry Diamond as he hands over the putter. Just struggling to get things going, Zane.
He's a tiny bit too far back, so he needs something special. He needs a chip in, needs an eagle, something just to fire him up. But we've got Victor Hovland now with an awkward shot over the back of this green here, Ian.
Yes, it's a very steep bank. The television images don't really do it justice. It's a tabletop green, and it's very thick, juicy rough that is at the back of the green. Now, sometimes if you're not the best chipper, it's a little easier, isn't it, Zane, coming out of the thicker grass rather than a tight lie?
Yeah, you can use a bit more speed. Open the face. It's on a bit of an upslope. Use a bit of speed. You haven't got not quite as much finesse. But his short game has been much better. He's seen a really good couple of delicate shots today. So this is a slightly different one here. He's going to throw this one right up into the air.
So here he goes, low hands, white trousers, bright orange shirt today for Hovland beneath his white cap, and he'll just chop underneath this ball. Up it goes, lands on the putting surface, and then down the hill it will trundle towards the hole. He was hoping it would borrow from left to right. That's superb touch nonetheless from Victor Hovland. He's put it inside 3 feet, should be able to save his par from there.
Yeah, really nice shot there, which is this is part of Victor's game, which I think we're really seeing a difference there. That would have been in the past maybe 7 or 8 feet, leaving him a little bit more work, but now these small shots around the green that seem so tricky, he's just getting himself back in play, having low stress pars. Yeah,
he's 22nd in strokes gained around the green this week. That's not bad for a player who once said that he sucked at chipping. DeChambeau 145 yards out from the 10th, launches one up into the blue sky, and that one's gone. There's a huge runoff down the back of the green there that DeChambeau did not want to hit, but just a little bit too much power in that one, and it goes down the slope at the back and nestles up into that thick rough. And DeChambeau just chewing his bottom lip there in frustration through the back of the green on the 10th.
Now Koepka, the leader, birdies at the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th. He didn't miss a shot in that opening quartet of holes, then dropped shots at 6 and 7, parred the 8th. This for an unlikely birdie on 9 from long range, sends it forward up towards the hole, and it's just taken the borrow from left to right and run away to the right of the hole, but excellent for pace, and he should make his par from there and remain ahead at 7 under par.
More good scrambling from Koepka then, Zane.
Yeah, again, just keeping on top of it. He's got to somehow just steady the ship here. He had a great start, and now he's kind of had this little wobble. He was chatting to his coach beforehand. It's not all quite plain sailing. I think maybe those first few holes could be masking something going on underneath.
That's just all part of major championship golf, though, isn't it? It's never all plain sailing. Every champion has to weather a storm, and that's why it's such an enormous achievement to win one of the 4 majors in men's golf. This is the 2nd of the year, and Victor Hovland has been contesting in the last 3 of them. Here he is then on the 9th, Ian.
Yeah, he was in the final group, wasn't he, with Rory McIlroy at St Andrews. And here he is over this par putt. Very important putt list, 3.5 feet. In it goes, and a terrific up and down from an awkward spot at the back of the green for Hovland. He goes to the turn in 34, that's 1 under par, and at 6 under he's 1 shot off the lead.
Yep, you're listening to final round commentary of the PGA Championship Golf. We'll be here with you through to the close of play at, probably sometime around midnight, maybe even later this evening, to see if Brooks Koepka can close it out and lift the Wanamaker Trophy for the third time in his career. He leads by 1 shot ahead of his playing partner Victor Hovland, and 3 shots ahead of Scotty Scheffler and Bryson DeChambeau. Ian, par putt for him coming up now on the 9th.
Yeah, and he taps it in, and he goes to the turn in 34, just as Hovland did. But with that extra shot in the bank, you have to think back to that monster putt that he holed on 17 yesterday. That's the difference right now. Koepka at 7 under, Hovland at 6 under, Scheffler and DeChambeau at 4 under.
And a lovely little rescue from DeChambeau out of the rough over the back of the 10th sees him looking to get up and down to save his par there.
Scheffler looking for a birdie at the 11th from long range and coming very, very close. He's looking much more like the dominant figure that he has been on the PGA Tour in the last couple of years today. He's the real threat, and that one cozying up to the side of the hole, and a tap in from 3 inches for Scheffler to keep him at 4 under par. And he's a dangerous name to have in your wing mirrors when you're leading a major in the way that Koepka is at the moment.
Yeah, he hasn't finished outside the top 12 in his last 13 starts. For consistency, well, you don't get much better than that, do you, Zane?
No, it's about to become 14 by the looks of it. But yeah, what a player he's been. You know, when he spoke about being so nervous when he led the Masters, you know, actually having a little cry in the morning beforehand, to now he's like the name there. You look on that leaderboard and he's the man to beat, and he knows that right now. I think Brooks Koepka will have a glance at a leaderboard at some point, and the name is Scotty Scheffler will get him thinking just a little bit more than anybody else there. But
Brooks Koepka is about to embark on the back 9, and this is where he's made hay over the past 3 days. He's 7 under on the back 9 compared to 1 over on the front 9 this week. You're out on the course, Ian. What's the difference between the front and the back 9?
It's hard to say. I mean, to me, it just looks a colossally difficult golf course. Whichever way you look at it, you look at the way that it's been set up today, and certainly it's been set up to provide birdies early in the round to really generate some excitement, and then the back end of both halves are really, really difficult, and you get that sense again now. Koepka and Hovland, they're kicking off their back 9s, and they've got the scoring holes coming. 10, 11, 11's proving quite tricky actually, the par 3, but then 12, 13 the par 5, the drivable par 4, 14. That's where you're going to pick up your shots, and then you get to the 15th short par 3 before holding onto your hat to come home. So to me, that kind of discrepancy in Koepka's scoring is perhaps more personal to him than actually you'd say, well, the outward half's harder than the inward half. I think it's very much how the players see it, but they have that kind of rhythm, both halves, where you make your score early and then try and hang on to it. So that could make it really interesting. You know, if Scheffler or DeChambeau can post a number, and then you've got to hang on to your lead coming down those final 3 holes, then there is scope for real drama, I think.
Well, Victor Hovland, his playing partner and the man in second spot at the moment, a shot behind Koepka, has launched another straight as a die tee shot down this 10th hole, and Koepka has followed him, so no problems for Koepka on the 10th tee, Zane, and that must make him feel pretty good setting out on that back 9, because he's been a bit wayward off the tee on the last few holes. Yeah, just a touch. Both players taking fairway wood off the tee on that hole there, number 10, and both into the fairway, so it won't be a long second shot for them, so they have a short iron in there, creating a couple of good birdie chances. Now DeChambeau. Pressure on him to save par, and he fails. That one just leaking away to the right edge and staying above ground. It did catch the lip. Cam Davis is a name that has now emerged onto the leaderboard. The tall Australian who had an eagle 2 at the 14th has just birdied 17, and that's taken him into the group at 3 under par within 4 shots of the lead. So if he comes through 18 unscathed, or even picks up a birdie on the 18th, well, he won't be going anywhere. He'll just sit back in the locker room and watch the others
before and enjoy having the clubhouse lead for however long he retains it. So yeah, that's some back nine from Cam Davis. And just looking at his card, one drop shot that came at the first, picked up birdies at the 5th, the 8th and the 9th. That eagle at 14, superb birdie at 17, which is a monster of a par 3. As we see Victor Perez on the 14th now, trying to go for the green with his driver and coming up short on the bank. So potential drama on that hole, which today is measuring what is it, it's just over 3, I think 320 yards. I think today is the distance on that one. So yeah, that's a potential one for a great deal of drama.
Yeah, we saw it causing all kinds of bother yesterday, didn't we, Zane? That drivable par 4 14th, loads of players going for it, but in the wind and the rain yesterday, so many losing it off to the right down the spectator track and across the other side of the cart path.
But then today, with that pin kind of middle of the green right at the back, it's a bit into the breeze, means actually yesterday we saw the pin at the front, which meant if they got onto the green they would have run to the back and they would come up in the front bunker, whereas today if they can pitch it on the green, it is possible to get it close. We've always seen an eagle there today, so that could provide some drama in that back nine for us.
Yeah, it could end up being a pivotal hole, and Brooks Koepka is just 3 holes away from it. He and Victor Hovland playing in the final group out at Oak Hill in Rochester in New York. They are just starting their back nine there on the 10th. Get in touch with us and let us know how you're watching the golf. Text us on 85058 or tweet us at 5Live Sport. Who have you got to lift the Wanamaker Trophy at the close of play this evening? And you can also follow along with the action on the live text page on the BBC Sport website and app. Whenever we get these shots though, Ian, of the crowds, the sunshine, it's like major championship golf is back. How has the course recovered from yesterday? I noticed that Allens Creek is nowhere near as swollen as it was, but there's a water line there because the water was so high yesterday given the amount of rain that fell.
Yeah, and you walk around the property and there's the odd puddle still there, but you'd never know that we encountered the deluge that came in yesterday. And this is worth making the point that this is a completely different golf course to the one that I visited in 2013 and 2003, and people who with long enough memories will think back to 1995 when Europe won the Ryder Cup here. They've taken out so many of the trees here, they've relaid the greens, and a huge restoration project which went through in 2019. So it has a different feel to it. But the other thing is that the technology used has brought about some extraordinary drainage, which is why we were able to continue playing yesterday, because on most golf courses in the world, the amount of rain that came down, play would have been suspended, greens would have flooded. Yes, they had to get the squeegees out, but they managed to keep on playing. And you'd have, as I say, you'd have no idea about the deluge that was encountered yesterday here today, and it's a lovely, lovely day.
Unless you were listening to us on 5 Sports Extra yesterday for round 3 commentary, when we could barely hear Ian Carter's commentary because of the noise of the drumming of the raindrops on the media tent roof. You were deafened, Ian. It's nice to have you back.
Yeah, I could hardly hear you as well, Kat and Zane. It was, I was glad I was in a tent. Anyway, from the middle of the fairway on the 10th, we can now see Victor Hovland, 1 shot behind here. The European chasing a first major title, and he's just tugged that one slightly to the left, but beautiful distance control. And his iron play has been sensational all 4 days, hasn't it, Zane? And he's got a birdie chance on 10.
Yeah. Distance control now, especially into the major back nine, is going to be so important to him. He does it perfectly there. Now Brooks from a similar distance, Kat.
Yeah, 140 yards out of the 10th, his second shot in. Enormous hospitality stands in the background, and a TV tower to aim at with the number 10 emblazoned upon it, and the ball bounces once and comes to a stock-still stop on the green, 5 foot from the pin. Really good look at birdie here for Brooks Koepka on the 10th.
Yeah, fantastic shot in there. Right hand pin, going right at the pin, between the pin and the edge of the green. Very aggressive approach up there, really stamping his authority on this back nine.
Scheffler, who as it stands at the moment would need a top 4 finish to usurp John Rahm at the top of the world rankings. Rahm needs to finish in the top 48 for Scheffler then to have to finish in the top 3 to get to world number 1. A little side plot to proceedings here. Scheffler is thinking more about trying to pick up his second major, because he's in the mix here, only 3 shots behind, and on a bit of a charge as well. He's got a gap wedge in his hands here, playing his second shot into the 12th. With the wind such as it is, a gentle breeze around about 10 miles an hour, 11 miles an hour, straight at his back here as he sends this up towards the putting surface, finds the right portion of it, and the flag over to the left-hand side, slightly too conservative, that from a perplexed looking Scheffler as he walks back to his caddy Ted Scott and hands the club there, pulls the putter from the bag, lightens the load for his caddy and prepares to march up to that elevated green.
2 under par for his round, 4 under for the tournament at the moment. Scotty Scheffler in 3rd spot on his own behind Victor Hovland and then Brooks Koepka. Rounds of 67, 68 and then a 3 over par 73 yesterday in those horrible conditions, but looking back on it today. Cam Davis just under 150 yards out from the last, the Australian, who, as Ian said, is looking to post a number for the others to chase down, and he lands that one on the green on the 18th, about 15 foot from the pin for his birdie. So safely on the green, the Australian, as he looks to close out his final round.
Kitayama trying to get to 4 under as well. He's putting through his shadow for birdie on 17, and always just on the low side there, on the left-hand side of the hole, and so he will have to tap in and make do with a par that keeps him at 3 under par. 1 hole to play for the smiling Kitayama, who's been immaculate on this back 9. No drop shots, birdies at 12 and 13.
So Koepka leads by 1 from Victor Hovland. Scotty Scheffler, the world number 2, 3 shots back at 4 under par, but here's a big chance and a big moment for Hovland, Ian.
Yes, here he is, putting after that approach to pin high on the 10th. Gives it a firm wrap, needs it to turn from left to right, does turn from left to right, but too much, and catches the right edge of the hole and runs on. And he just gives a reproachful tap of the putter, because he was aggressive there, Zane, and he's left a bit of work there.
Yeah, that's gone about 4 feet past, which is not what he would have liked to have seen, but good to see him going those putts. We've seen him leave a few putts short in the past, in his last round of major championship, so we know he's on the front foot. He was trying to knock that in before we see Brooks Koepka's shorter birdie putt there. He was trying to just apply a bit of pressure, but as is, if Brooks can go ahead and knock this in, Victor's 4-foot putt is going to look about 8 feet.
Yeah, this is a key moment in the battle for the lead, isn't it? Koepka just 1 shot ahead of Victor Hovland, and he still has some meat on the bones of his par save, but Koepka here with a good look at birdie. He's got a slightly taupe, is that a taupe trouser? Kind of moleskin colour.
Don't do this to me.
It's a very tricky colour to describe. What would you say? It's got a bit of purple in it, but it's not quite beige, not quite tan. And here comes the birdie putt anyway. Forget the trousers, and in it goes for Koepka. And his lead is stretched to 2 for now, with Hovland still to save par on the 10th. And Koepka, casual as you like, bends to pick the ball out of the hole, and a wave of the hand to the crowd, and he starts this back 9 with a birdie.
That was a big putt from Koepka there, just stamping his authority on it. And now he can now sit back and watch Hovland kind of squirm over this one. His par save here, but what a birdie that was from Brooks Koepka.
You can almost see Brooks Koepka taking some deep breaths there as he stands with his hands on his hips to watch Victor Hovland here trying to save his par, Ian.
This is a huge moment for Hovland now. He was 1 shot behind. He was thinking, if I can apply the pressure with a birdie here, I could be level. Now he's staring, potentially going 3 shots behind, because that was a brilliant birdie from Koepka, and this would be a self-inflicted error if this doesn't drop. Sends it forward into the hole and in for Victor Hovland, and so he makes his par and he remains at 6 under, but it's a 2-stroke advantage now for Koepka. 8 holes to play, and he's at 8 under par with that birdie at 10. And John Rahm was saying earlier today of Brooks Koepka that he's like a shark in the water when he can smell blood, and that certainly sprung to mind there when that putt dropped for Koepka. Really big blow to strike at the start of the back nine.
Yeah, could that be a decisive birdie for Koepka with 8 holes left to play? Scotty Scheffler missing a long-range birdie putt back on the, well, up ahead on the 12th. That would have put him to within 3 shots off the lead, but as it is, it looks like he's going to stay on 4 under par, so in 3rd spot on his own, 2 shots behind Hovland and now 4 shots behind Brooks Koepka. Well, all change again, Zane.
Yeah, it really is. You know, it's been a very topsy-turvy day, which has been a testament to the way they've set the course up. We've got Cam Davis for a birdie on the 18th, Ian.
Yep, this to set the clubhouse lead, and coming up just shy. That was not the putt to be short on for the tall Australian, all in black today, but it's still a brilliant round, the low round of the week, a 65 for Cam Davis, and he knows that really needed to drop, but he is in the clubhouse. He set the target, the initial target if you like, at 3 under par. Koepka out on the course, of course, at 8 under.
It's funny, isn't it, that 3 under seems like it's just not enough at all, but 4 under might just have done something.
Yeah, exactly. You're looking at Koepka and Hovland. If they had some sort of a wobble, it might come back into it, but that it's almost criminal to leave that putt short. It was a pretty easy putt up the hill, left to right. Really to shoot a 64 there, and even though he's had a great day, he's going to go home really thinking about if I'd just hit that a little bit harder. But that's golf. That's we've all been there.
If only, if only, if only. Koepka on the par 3 11th, Ian.
Yeah, and he's just having a chat with Ricky Elliott, his caddy. Breeze just starting to kick up here, and it's starting to get into the players' heads. Koepka is taking his time here. He's one of the quicker players, and the point being made there by Ricky Elliott, I don't know if you could hear, but he was saying it's that bit warmer, so the ball travels that little bit further, so you have to factor that into the equation as well. And now he settles over this shot, shortest hole on the course on the par 3, and sends it forward. Rather, that's the 15th, but anyway, it's par 3, and that one, I don't know if you can see on your monitor, guys, but I think that's gone into the bunker.
It has, yeah, it's plugged. Yeah, it's a real fried egg, isn't it?
Oh, and it's a horrible position right underneath the lip, and it's got that sort of fried egg look about it as well. Oh, that's not going to be nice. And actually, the angle of the face there, Zane, that's going to make it very difficult for the stands.
Yeah, the bunkers are like almost like walls at the front. They have rough up them, but he's going to have a really difficult stance there to go at the pin. So,
well, that was a 4-iron for Brooks Koepka. Hovland has taken the 3-iron instead and hitting into a 10-mile-an-hour headwind. This one working round slightly from left to right towards the pin and into the heart of the green, and it's just tiptoeing up the slope towards that pin that's almost cut bang in the centre of the 11th green today. Much more conservative golf from Victor Hovland, but that's what he set out to do. He sets out, doesn't he, to just play sensible golf, give himself a chance, doesn't often take on the pins. He is a sensible player, and he has the advantage on the 11th.
That was a very smart shot there, taking one club more than Brooks Koepka. He hit a 4-iron, Brooks Koepka, which I think that was a big ask, you know, 246 yards to the pin.
He had the 3 in his
way.
hand, and he put it back.
Yeah, he'll be kicking himself there. That just didn't make the carry. He's having to really go after it. Tugged it a little bit, and he's walking down there. He won't quite yet know that's in a dodgy position. Now, Rory McIlroy.
At the 13th, playing his 3rd shot into the par 5. Huge galleries on the natural amphitheatre behind the green, and a lovely wedged approach from McIlroy. Too little too late, you feel, though. He's at 2 under par. That would go in, take him to 3 under par, you would guess, because he's put it to around about 4 feet. Meanwhile, we can see Koepka here, Zane. and he's looking concerned because he won't know quite how awkward that lie is until he arrives at the ball.
That's correct. He's got kind of three issues here. He's a long way from the hole. He's going to be about 30 or 35 yards from the cup. He's plugged, and he's going to have a really awkward stance. So this is going to take all of his magic to get this one in the round where he can save his par. But he's kind of scouring the green there. But I think the realisation is just setting in the task he's got ahead of him. Victor Hovland in a really strong position now.
Yeah, and that after Koepka took his two-stroke advantage with a clinical birdie on the 10th. Hovland will be feeling a little chipper. When you're in this kind of situation, Hovland will have a little look, won't he?
Yeah, he'll just probably wander up the left-hand side just to check where Brooks's ball is.
Yep, yeah, there he is.
And there he is, having a little walk past. Now moving around to his ball, and hands on hips there from Brooks Koepka. He's really ruining something. How's that ball stopped right there?
Meanwhile, Rory McIlroy fought his birdie on the 13th. Just the lightest of touches, and it wriggles and wobbles and bobbles its way down towards the hole. And there is a massive throng of colour and noise around the 13th following Rory McIlroy. 2 birdies now for him in his last 4 holes. He moves to 3 under and in a share of 4th place. 5 shots off the lead of Brooks Koepka, who is still contemplating this bunker shot. Rory McIlroy, though, into the top 4.
So, Koepka now just wedging his left foot underneath the lip of the bunker, then a big swing, massive puff of white sand. Oh, superb shot from the leader, because he managed to advance it a good portion of that 30-35 yards that he needed to, and it's come to rest within 12 feet of the cup, maybe a little less. That was fantastic, wasn't it, Zane?
Yeah, that was a real bit of magic there. He had to use a lot of power, and the main thing, he had to get up so quickly, and there's almost like a wall in front of him, that bunker. What a great shot that was. That could be a defining moment for Brooks Koepka there. That could have spelt real disaster, but that was real talent to show that, hit that shot right there.
Explosion of sand as he hit that. Here's Kurt Kitayama on the last with 170 yards to go on this par 4. His second shot in, though, so looking to set up a closing birdie for the American. And that one riding the wind into the left-hand side, pin high, 15 foot away.
Scotty Scheffler on the tee of the par 5, 612 yard 13th, and he rips that one straight down the middle, bends down, picks up the tee, and he might glance up now and see the ball landing in the left half of the fairway. Super tee shot from Scotty Scheffler. As for Koepka, I can't help feeling, assuming he's put on the sunscreen, he's going to have that really gritty feeling now that you sometimes get on the beach when the sand sort of gets into places that you don't really want it to be in, because there was such a wall of sand that came out in the explosion of that bunker shot. Big moment coming here for Hovland, though, Zane, because it is a birdie chance here.
Yeah, up the hill about just over 20 feet, I'll say about 25 feet. Not going to break too much, a little bit of a right to lefter. He's just going to fiddle with his line on his golf ball, just getting that absolutely precise. So then once he lines the ball up and puts the putter behind, he'll know that's exactly where he wanted to aim. He's got to think about getting the ball to the hole. So big opportunity here for Victor Hovland.
And he's taking every care over it as well. He's left the flag stick in, and 3-4 little twitches of the putter head as he slides the blade behind the ball, and a couple more looks towards the hole. On comes the ball towards the flag and drifts by on the right hand side, so the birdie chance goes missing, and he just pulls his mouth out in a flat line of frustration, 2 little dimples appearing on his cheeks, taps in, and he just looks so completely unflappable, doesn't he, Victor Hovland? But we know how much it means to him. He's spoken about the level of expectation he has in himself and how he needs to take the pressure off. He knows that he's been in contention for the last couple of majors, and here he is in the final group once again. He knows it's coming for him at some point.
Koepka to preserve his 2-stroke advantage then after that bunker shot, and he's got a good 15 feet here. to save par on 11, sends it forward, looks good, catches the left edge and stays above ground, and he says, wow, how did that not drop? He was in behind Hovland's putt very, very quickly because he knew he could learn the line from that, and he's not going to take any chances here. Goes down on his haunches, he's inside a foot, he's going to make his par, but I think this is quite telling actually, the way that he's instead of just coming around and tapping it in. I think that one of the things that Koepka has learnt from the Masters in April is just to slow down and not, you can get out of your rhythm, you can start going quickly when you're nervous, and just looking at that, I think the demeanour is slightly different a month on from that.
Yeah, he just seems a touch more composed today, which he has done from the very first hole. As you say, just taking his time. He'll be tidying this one up. This is a very easy putt coming up, but he's still in control of this one, and he's just almost just controlling the pace of the whole tournament now. He knows all the eyes are on him, and he's owning that space.
Over this putt, honestly, it's only 9 inches, and he's taken every care. He's taken a practice swing, he's lined it up, and he sends it into the cup. So it's a bogey 4, the lead is back down to 1, and it's all to play for on the closing stretch at Oak Hill. Brooks Koepka the leader now at 7 under par, Victor Hovland at 6 under par, Scotty Scheffler is at 4 under par, Cam Davis the clubhouse leader after the Australian carded a 65, the lowest round of the week, he is at 3 under par. Kurt Kitayama has a birdie chance at 18 that would take him to 4 under. Rory McIlroy is at 3 under. Can he come up with a massive finish? He's got the drivable par 4 coming up next at the 14th. Corey Connors at 3 under. Bryson DeChambeau at 3 under. Sepp Straka, the Austrian, in the clubhouse after his 65 got him to 2 under par.
How crucial could this next hole be then for Rory McIlroy? The 14th, the drivable 14th, he made a bit of a mess of it yesterday, didn't he, leaking off to the right-hand side. But at 3 under par, if he can get a couple of birdies on the run in, it could be the score to beat.
Absolutely, he needs to get it close on that hole. Give himself an eagle putt on that 14th hole. He needs, he's -3 now. He's got to be thinking he's got to beat the worst he can do if he's going to be in some sort of contention. He's going to be 3 under from this point forward, and 14, 15 are kind of birdie holes, and after that they're a real beast it's a real beast of a finish. So the tee shot for Rory on 14 is going to be absolutely crucial.
Does Rory cope well with that kind of pressure at the moment, Ian? Is he in the right kind of headspace to stand on 14 and say, I need to post a score here?
Who knows? Here is Victor Hovland with his tee shot on the 12th, and that one just leaking down the left side of the fairway but staying on the short stuff, so he's in good shape. Scheffler's in good shape up ahead at the par 5. He has managed to play a fairway wood to within wedge distance. He'll be hitting from the left semi-rough, but nicely placed there, as we now see Koepka, long iron in hand, having birdied it on his last 2 visits here on the 12th.
Yeah, really tight grip on the club from Koepka, and a mighty swing of the iron that he's gone for off the tee here on the 12th, the par 4, short uphill, trees either side, and a little bunker on the right at 285 yards off the tee. That's not been a problem for him, and the tee shot finding the centre of the fairway there. DeChambeau's challenge might be frittering away here. He's got a lengthy par putt at 12, turning towards the hole, but not enough, and stays above ground, missing by 6 or 7 inches, and he's frustrated as DeChambeau. He slips back to 2 under par. Here's Rory's tee shot on 14. Yeah, the drivable par 4, 320 yards it's playing today, which is well within Rory McIlroy's wheelhouse. The hand comes off the driver though in the follow through, and it dashes down into the sand with a splash in front of the green. He didn't quite get the contact on it that he wanted, but it's dribbled back onto the flatter part of the bunker, so it's not a terrible lie for Rory McIlroy, but it's not going to be the eagle chance he was hoping for.
Corey Connors at 12, his challenge looks like it's disappearing as well. Comes from only about 150 miles away, just across the border in Canada, and he bogeys 12 and slips back to 2 under par. Brooks Koepka all smiles as he marches down the 12th hole, but he is leading by the slenderest margin at 7 under. Like his playing partner and closest rival Victor Hovland, 1 under par on the day. Scotty Scheffler is a big threat, 2 under on the day, in third place at 4 under and in good shape on the par 5 13th.
You're listening to 5 Live and live commentary of the final round of the PGA Championship, the second men's major of the year. Jon Rahm, of course, won the Masters a month ago, and we're here until the close of play here on 5 Live to find out who is going to lift the Wanamaker Trophy. Right through to the close of play, get in touch 85058 or tweet us at 5 Live Sport. Here's Justin Rose hitting into the 13th, and that's a beautiful one from the Englishman, coming up with his second shot, probably his third shot actually. That was a wedge in his hand, about 20 feet from the pin.
Victor Perez, who could be in the European Ryder Cup team when we get to September, especially off the back of a good week here. Second shot from the rough on 16, and the Frenchman finds the green, having just dropped a shot at the par 3 15th. So Perez has tumbled back down to 1 under par, and that's good enough for a share of 10th place as it stands at the moment.
Wonderful stuff. Yeah, just getting a good look at the course out at Oak Hill in Rochester in New York, and as Ian mentioned, a complete restoration a few years ago in 2020. The shapes and contours of the green completely reworked, ponds taken out, even as major as that, lots of trees. I think about 500 trees removed, and they were such a huge part, or they have played such a huge part in this course. Really mature oak trees. You know, the whole place is called Oak Hill, and the fairways are thickly lined on either side with these big overhanging trees that have had such a part to play over the last couple of days, as has the weather, of course. Heavy rain yesterday, but bright sunshine, and it's lovely and warm. The players all out in their short sleeves and their t-shirts, and it is looking intriguing as we enter the closing stages of this final round. Brooks Koepka leading by 1 from the Norwegian Victor Hovland, searching for his first major championship, and then world number 2 Scotty Scheffler 3 shots off the lead now. He is in third position on his own at 4 under par. Then Cam Davis, the Australian, Corey Connors of Canada, and Rory McIlroy with Kurt Kitayama all sharing 4th spot on 3 under par. 4 shots off the lead now of Brooks Koepka. Ian Carter out in Rochester in New York for us, keeping an eye on proceedings and an eye on the weather as well. And Zane Scotland and I, as darkness has now fallen in Salford, watching how things are going in over here in the UK. So we've got the late finish. Shane Lowry, we haven't seen much of him, have we, Ian? How's he getting?
No, he's at 1 under par. He's hacking out of the rough down the 17th and coming up short of the green, standing hands on hips. He really got things going in the second round and then dropped a couple of shots just at the end of that round. Here's Brooks Koepka at the 12th, and he's playing his second shot in, the leader at 7 under par. Oh, and that's he has just snuck it over the bunker, guarding the left side. The ball coming to rest actually an inch or so on the fringe of the green, but in good shape. Potential birdie chance for the leader.
Scotty Scheffler with a wedge just 88 yards out of the 13th. This par 5, 612 yards. It's an absolute mammoth, and this is very good indeed. Lands beyond the flag and spins back, passing the hole by just a few centimetres. And the mammoth crowd, they're about 30-40 deep around this 13th, following the world number 2. Well, they cannot believe that one didn't drop. Wow, what a score that would have been for Scheffler on the par 5. An eagle for him, but just drifts by. Should be a birdie though.
Pitching wedge from 144 yards for Victor Hovland is excellent. Lands in the green, just beyond the flag. Doesn't suck back as much as he would have hoped, but nonetheless, he's put it to 6 feet, and it's a birdie chance for the Norwegian.
Yeah, that was a fantastic shot right over the pin there. As we have a look at Michael Block, who's on the 14th, playing with Rory. Short left of the green in the rough. He's done a pretty good job of that. It's banking around into about 6 or 7 feet. So A bit of a goal for Michael Block is to get into that top 15 so that he gets invited back next year without having to go through any of the other qualifiers. So I'm sure now he's got his mind and goals on that.
He's at 2 over par. I'm going to tell you what I really like about Michael Block's golf game in a minute, but let's have a quick look at Scotty Scheffler looking to capitalise on that nearly holed third shot on the par 5. He's only got 3.5-4 feet here for his birdie, and this would get him within 2 shots of the lead were this to drop, and it does drop right into the middle of the cup. Scheffler moves to 5 under, 5 to play, 2 shots off the lead. I love seeing in a major championship a golfer with dippy knees when he plays his wedges. Here's Rory.
Let's keep an eye on Rory's knees, playing out of the sand on the 14th. The drive, having found that bunker right at the front of the green, super deep. Rory McIlroy won't have been able to see the base of the flag from there, but he's out of the sand and it goes past by 4-5 feet for McIlroy. He'll still have a look at birdie, but it didn't set up the eagle chance he was hoping for.
Koepka putting from just off the green, looking for a birdie, finding a birdie. Brilliant stuff from Koepka, bouncing back from the drop shot at 11 with birdie at 12, and he moves back to 8 under par.
Wow, this is a birdie fest now.
Fantastic putt there. He said bouncing back there with another birdie. Just looks like he's got it today. Whatever he needs to do, he just seems to be able to answer the questions that have been asked of him.
A birdie look for Michael Block, the club professional, and he was holding those putts from all over the green yesterday. 10-15 feet was his absolute golden distance, but none of them dropping for him today. He stays on 2 over. Will it be enough for an exemption into next year's PGA Championship?
What's the read here, Zane, for Hovland?
It's not going to move too much, a tiny bit right to left. He's got around about 8 feet. He's just watched Brooks Koepka hole from the other side, but I think it's a slightly different line from this side. But a big putt coming up for him. Can he keep it on line? He's hit some good putts so far today.
It'll feel like a must-make one, I think, for Hovland, because he's looking at going 2 shots behind here. So he needs to follow Koepka in. Europe against America here. Europe looking to hole and missing on the left side. And this kind of Ryder Cup style duel swings the way of the American as a result of events on the 12th green, because Hovland not able to capitalise on the better approach shot.
And here's Rory McIlroy, birdie putt of 8 feet or so on the 14th, licking from the moment it left the face of his putter, it was always drifting left, and so from trying to set up an eagle, Rory McIlroy will have to set up a par on the 14th. He'll stay at 3 under. And Victor Hovland also just tapping in for his par on the 12th. So Brooks Koepka leads by 2. 8 under par from Victor Hovland, who's on 6 under par, as both of those players in the final group head to the 13th. Rory McIlroy stays at 3 under par. So 4 shots off the lead for Rory McIlroy, having failed to capitalise on that drivable par 14th. We'll be joining the leaders on the 13th tee in just a few minutes' time, but for now let's get the latest news with Stuart Clarkson.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Rishi Sunak will talk to his ethics advisor tomorrow about claims surrounding the Home Secretary Suella Braverman. It's alleged she broke government rules, asking civil servants for help after she was caught speeding. Officials refused her request to arrange a private driving awareness course, and she accepted points and a fine. President Zelensky has thanked G7 leaders for their enduring support of Ukraine at the end of the summit in Japan. Speaking in Hiroshima, he said Russia's defeat would result in lasting world peace. The government has ruled out more help with energy bills when the price cap falls later this week. The new limit on the amount suppliers can charge per unit is expected to leave the typical annual bill at around £2,000, still twice as high as when the cap was introduced in 2019. And 10 people have been taken to hospital after a double-decker bus crashed into a railway bridge in Glasgow. The vehicle's roof was sheared off in the incident this morning.
Jill Scott's Coffee Club.
We are back. I'm so excited for the second series, Ben.
It's going to be so exciting, bigger and better this year.
We've got the Lionesses England manager, Serena. Wow, as if we forgot Serena.
I'm happy that I've seen her a couple of times after the Euros. More on TV than in live.
Oh.
Good to see her now here.
Let's not forget as well, Jill, we've got to hear about all your antics in the jungle too.
Every now and then, there'd just be a tannoy going, Jill, you are not allowed to leave camp that way. So I was constantly getting in trouble.
Jill Scott's Coffee Club. Listen on BBC Sounds.
PGA Championship Golf with Catherine Downs on 5 Live and BBC Sounds.
Welcome back to final round coverage of the PGA Championship from Oak Hill in Rochester in New York. We will be with you here on 5 Live until the close of play, until the Wanamaker Trophy is hoisted. You can get in touch with us, text 85058, or you can tweet us at 5 Live Sport. And also, just to mention, our colleagues working on the live text page on the BBC Sport website and app, adding all kinds of added value. You can follow the action with them as well. Rory McIlroy's made it to the 15th. Ian Carter.
And he's missed the green to the right on this short par 3 into the runoff area. Tight grass down there. Awkward chip coming his way. News of the leading pair. We've seen Victor Hovland hoik his drive left on 13, so he'll be playing from the rough. And Koepka just missing the fairway to the right. Not quite sure what sort of lie he's got, but after those tee shots, I'd say advantage Koepka on that par 5 13th. And remember, it's Koepka who leads by 2.
And that's a bit of a worry, isn't it, for Victor Hovland, because he's been so metronomic off the tee so far in this final round, putting himself in great positions in the fairways to attack these greens, which is what playing around Oak Hill is all about, the big challenge of this golf course. If you're not in a good position on the fairway, then, well, you're in all kinds of trouble. So if Victor Hovland's tee shot has leaked slightly on the 13th, then maybe the pressure is beginning to tell on him. Bryson DeChambeau up ahead on the 13th green, playing from the rough down the right hand side, has he's chipped out and he's found himself on the putting surface, but it wasn't what he wanted. And Bryson DeChambeau looking a little bit frustrated, which is promising, isn't it, Ian, because he's got expectations of himself again, Bryson DeChambeau.
Yes, he has, and he's enjoyed contending in a big time golf event for the first time in a very long time. He's not done anything really to justify what is reported to be $100 million signing on fee with LIV. So it is refreshing for him. He did play well in their most recent event.
Oh my word.
I think Michael Block has just had a hole-in-one. The story that keeps on giving. The club pro, 46 years of age, has just canned his tee shot at the 15th. Unbelievable. Congratulated by Rory McIlroy. What a story. And Block moves back to level par with a hole-in-one.
And they are bouncing, they are jumping up and down, they have their arms around each other in the galleries on either side of the 16th, the 15th I should say. What a phenomenal tee shot from Michael Block, the club pro from California, who's playing in his 6th PGA Championship. He's never made the cut before, but here he is playing in the 3rd from last group with Rory McIlroy, one of the best players in the world. He's already said that's a dream come true. His final round, well, it was a bit wobbly, wasn't it? 2 over par, so drifting away from contention, and it goes straight in. It doesn't even bounce, it just disappears from view.
Straight into the hole. Extraordinary on the full. What a moment, Zane Scotland.
Is this a film? Is this really, really happening? This is like the Tin Cup moment that actually goes well. What an unbelievable moment. And you know, the ball just pitching straight in the hole. I mean, he must think he's absolutely on cloud 9 right now. This is just, what a heartwarming moment. Weak. And just absolutely
Here he is,
brilliant.
He's walked up onto the green now, and he bends down. He just stands and stops and looks, and the ball is wedged between the hole and the ball and the edge of the hole. He bends down, picks the ball up, shows it to the crowd. They're all standing, they're all roaring with delight. A moment of raw emotion for Michael Block, and it just reminds you, at a time when the game of golf is beset by all sorts of schisms and so much money at play, that this maddening game still has moments of pure romance, and that is one of them. And we see the replay once again of that tee shot on this little par 3 disappearing into the cup on the full for the 46-year-old club pro, who next week will be going back to selling shirts and teaching his mates on the range.
And I reckon that is the biggest shout we will hear on a golf course all year round. It also catapults him into 14th position, and a top 15 means that he plays next year at the PGA Championship. A top 10, and he's into the Canadian Open as well later on this year. Top 4, he'll play at the Masters next year as well. If he can get into a two-way tie for third, then he gets PGA Tour special temporary membership. So who knows, at level par on the 15th. I'm not sure he's going to get into a two-way tie for third with Scheffler, McIlroy, Hovland, Koepka ahead of him. He's made a terrible mess of the lip of the cup, though, hasn't he? It flew like a stone into the very edge of the cup.
Wow.
Just having a quick chat with his caddy. I was trying to hear what he was saying. But they're going to have to do some repairs to the edge of the cup there on the 15th before Rory McIlroy could putt.
Meanwhile, at the 14th, Scheffler, oh gosh, he's just hit the pin. He put his tee shot into the bunker just short of the drivable par 4, and it came out pretty hot, and on the first bounce clattered into the flag, and actually has come to rest pretty close by. That could have flown off in all sorts of uncontrollable way, but he should make his birdie from there, and if he does, well, that would move him to 5 under par, to 4 under par, I should say. No, to 6 under par. I'm going to clarify. Yeah, that would take him to 6 under and alongside Hovland within 2 of the lead.
Oh, crikey. Very useful clatter of the flag stick then for Cam Davis. Was it Cam Davis?
No, it was Scotty Scheffler. Scotty Scheffler just hit the pin on 14.
Scheffler hit the pin. Rory McIlroy on the 15th, playing from down the right-hand side of the dip, having missed the green, and he's flown the flagstick as well, so he's left himself a really tricky par save on the 15th after all the drama surrounding his playing partner, Michael Block, with that hole-in-one on the 15th and the moment of the championship so far.
Bolt of electricity just came all the way across the golf course. Here at Oak Hill, you could feel it everywhere.
There's definitely hurt there. I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
And that is the sound of Shane Knight, the caddy of Victor Hovland.
Committed, okay? Yep.
And there he is. He's giving Hovland a pep talk right now, because this is his...
I want to play straight hurt, okay? Yeah.
So he's saying playing straight hurt, so straight into your face, Victor. So make sure you apply the necessary, is basically the message from the bagman. So this wonderful scene, a natural amphitheatre, and there are thousands of people around this little green on the par 5, the 13th. Third shot in for Hovland, 2 shots behind, chasing his first major, the Norwegian. And there it goes, climbing into the clear blue skies of New York State, and it's a good shot as well. It lands down nicely, and he's put it to 10 feet. So birdie chance coming for Hovland. We yet to wait to see where Koepka is on this 13th hole.
And the pin is cut there towards the front of the green and into the middle as well. So it is quite a generous pin. It's not tucked away. But can you sense that he's getting a little bit more aggressive with those shots?
It does funnel in a little bit. We've got Koepka from the middle of the fairway here, going straight at it, nowhere else to go. Over the pin, spinning back was what we'd be trying to do, but that's come up short, Ian.
It has, and he was from 130 odd yards out, and it captures the bank at the front and spins back down the slope. So an error from Koepka there, and the door creaks open once again for Hovland.
But here's Scheffler for the birdie that would take him to 6 under par and into a tie for second with Hovland, and it's only a foot and a half, so easy pickings for Scheffler on the 14th. Back-to-back birdies now on 13 and 14 to add to that stunner he picked up on the 10th. So Scheffler and Hovland now in a share for second behind Koepka by 2 shots.
McIlroy to save par at 15 after chipping from the depression down the right-hand side amid the hullabaloo of Michael Block's hole-in-one and missing to the right. So another drop shot for McIlroy, and he'll slip out of the share of 4th place and back to 2 under par.
So back to my question, did you sense that that was Hovland taking a slightly more aggressive approach to that? I mean, as I say, the flag isn't hidden behind any of those sand traps. It's not particularly tucked in towards any of the far edges of this green on the 13th, but he went straight for it, didn't he? And normally he plays for the heart of the green.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty straightforward shot, you know, in a normal circumstance, but this isn't a normal circumstance. This is a major championship, back 9, and he was able to go first. So every time he's going to go first, you know, Brooks Koepka's notoriously long, but the one thing that's all great, but Victor Hovland can use into his areas. If he's going to be playing first, he can maybe get a bit aggressive and put some pressure on him, and it did put the pressure on Brooks there, because Brooks has come up well short of the green. They will be quite disappointed with that, and maybe part of that was Hovland applying the pressure.
Michael Block, meanwhile, making his way to the 16th tee, low 5s with the crowd, and the television executives just can't get enough of that hole-in-one. They're showing it again, so every time you hear roars, don't be alarmed, we're not missing anything out on the golf course. It's just one of those magic moments that they want to keep on showing to the audiences all across the world and across the United States. And Michael Block, well, he's made a name for himself. Koepka putting from off the green, up the funnel that is the, if you like, runoff area that leads into the actual putting surface. A big backswing on that putt, sends it forward. He's overcooked it, misses to the right, and it runs on by probably around 10 feet there. So Koepka on the par 5 in danger of dropping a shot.
So Michael Block, after that ace on the 15th, well, he'll have to settle his heart rate down on the 16th. The par 4, and that one just drifting to the right-hand side, and there's some really thick rough in there, and a knoll that rises up to the trunk of one of those mature oak trees down the right-hand side. And a reminder for us on the screens that no PGA professional has ever finished in the top 10. He's currently in 14th spot at the moment, Michael Block, after that incredible hole-in-one on the 15th. And he almost had to fight his way through the crowds, didn't he? They all had their hands out to tap him for a low 5 and a high 5, and they were snagging him as he battled his way up towards the tee on the 16th. Just a remarkable week he's had. I can't wait to hear what he has to say once his round is done. Back to the leaders. Sorry, Ian.
Yeah, an interesting development I just noticed is that he's now wearing a cap that bears the trademark of a leading manufacturer, which wasn't the case yesterday. So already ka-ching has happened.
And why not?
Right, Hovland, what do you think of this putt, Zane?
Yeah, very makeable putt up the hill, so he can be aggressive. Touch left to right, and it's that nice length. You're not supposed to make all of these, so he can give this one a run. And this is a big moment. He can really put some pressure on Brooks Koepka with this one, 2 back.
Potential 2-shot swing here, left to right. This putt, he's ready with it from 10 feet, sends it on his way into the middle of the cup, and the Norwegian strikes, and Hovland moves back to 7 under par. He is now within a shot of Koepka, who's got a tester to save his par. Brilliant stuff from Victor Hovland.
Yeah, he's really put it to him there. He from being in the fairway first to play in, as Kat said, hit a great positive shot in there, and now Brooks Koepka got a putt down the hill, Ian, after leaving his 3rd shot short, running his 4th shot way past. Now watching Victor hold that putt, all of a sudden that hole is shrinking by the second.
They've got all their camera phones out in the galleries around the 13th, and they're holding them high over the heads of those in front of them at the back of the crowd. It's all set down in an amphitheatre, this green, in a little hollow. It's absolutely perfect for spectators to pile themselves high. And here is Brooks Koepka putting, and in it goes for Koepka, and he raises his hand to the crowd, and that is an important save for Brooks Koepka to maintain his lead of 1 stroke over his playing partner Victor Hovland, who has a look of quiet resignation on his face as he marches off towards the 14th tee. But that was such a nerveless putt from Koepka, having seen Hovland drain the birdie to get within 1.
That was a big putt, but that's what Brooks Koepka does. You know, he seems to be able to, when he needs to, in these majors, just be able to pull it out. He's really got that steel about him. And at that point, he really needed that down the hill, left to right, just caught enough at the right edge, and he just stays in control. No one's caught him yet.
That was so gutsy, wasn't it? Because he was out of position for so much of that hole. It looked like he was not imploding, but really doing self-harm to himself, but he rescued the moment, kept his nose out in front. 15th and the 151-yard par 3 that Michael Block has just aced. This is Scotty Scheffler with his tee shot, and missing just to the right, and the ball comes to rest, I think, just on the right level of the green and not taking the slope away to the right, which is where McIlroy trundled down and ended up dropping a shot as a result. So Scheffler, remember, is still in the mix at 6 under par. 2 shots off the lead held by Brooks Koepka, 1 ahead of Victor Hovland, who's just birdied the 13th. A dramatic final day. The clubhouse lead is held at 3 under par by Cam Davis, round in 65. We've also seen a 65 from Kurt Kitayama to get to 3 under par, a 65 from Austria's Sepp Straka, and he got into the clubhouse at 2 under par. This is a day that we've been waiting for, really, and all along the first 3 days, for whatever reason, the frost on Thursday, the rain on Saturday, the toughness of the course on Friday has been a real grind, and now it's just opening up into showbiz golf with players able to really go for it, try and make the birdies. We've seen the drama of Michael Block, and now we're coming down the stretch with a kind of Ryder Cup style duel that's going on between Koepka and Hovland, and Scheffler with the #1 ranking at stake as well, trying to muscle in on it as well. This is exactly what you want from a major championship.
Yeah, really exciting stuff. We'll be with you on 5 Live right the way through to the close of play to see if Brooks Koepka can close it out for a 5th major championship, or maybe Victor Hovland can claim his first and become the first man from Norway to win a major championship, or can Scotty Scheffler, as Ian says, muscle in. Some more sports news for you from today. Of course, Manchester City's Jack Grealish says they feel unstoppable after lifting their 3rd successive Premier League title. City confirmed champions yesterday after Arsenal lost at Nottingham Forest and were presented with the trophy today in front of home fans following a 1-0 win over Chelsea. City boss Pep Guardiola spoke to Will Perry on the pitch after the game. He said, "I thought it would be more difficult. With Arsenal playing like Arsenal and reaching 50 points in the first half of the season, we had to keep going and try to be close to them when they came to play at the Etihad. Hopefully the players can sustain this rhythm and play well in the 2 finals coming." Of course, the treble then still on for Manchester City. At the other end of the table, Leeds missed the chance to move out of the relegation zone, losing 3-1 at West Ham after taking a first half lead, and that defeat means a win on the final day for Leeds might not be enough to keep them up. Meanwhile, Brighton will play European football for the first time next season. That's after they beat Southampton 3-1. The Women's Super League title race will go down to the last day of the season after Manchester United scored in the 91st minute to beat Manchester City 2-1. Chelsea earlier beat Arsenal 2-0, and that would have given them the title for the 4th successive season if Manchester United hadn't won later to keep alive their hopes. And Andy Murray has withdrawn from the French Open. The 3-time Grand Slam champion wants to prioritise the grass court season and the build up to Wimbledon. So we might see him at Queen's before we see him take on the Grand Slam event at Wimbledon. We're here on 5 Live Sports, as I say. Sorry. Yep.
I was going to say, you might see Andy Murray at Surbiton.
Oh. Well, yeah, you do fancy a bit of surf just down the road from you. There. Yeah, he's snuck in there before, hasn't he?
He has.
Well, maybe he's played paddle, hasn't he, Andy Murray?
Courts will be shut. Yeah, he loves it.
He's into paddle.
Great sport.
Yeah, and he's a pretty handy golfer as well, isn't he, Andy Murray?
Yeah, loves his golf. So does Jamie. Jamie is massively into his golf. He was I remember him being a guest on our Cut podcast, actually, back in the day.
I feel a good 4-ball coming on there, Ian. What do you think? You, me and the Murray brothers?
Yeah, no problem. We'll sort it out at Wimbledon. Here's Scheffler putting for his birdie after clinging on to the putting surface, leaking his tee shot to the right, but that attempt for birdie never threatened to drop. Should make his par no problem though, and that will keep him at 6 under.
Corey Connors, the Canadian, has faded somewhat over this last round. He's drifted to 1 under par, but that is a really confident birdie putt from across the green for Connors, rattled into the back wall of the hole, and that takes him back to 2 under par, but still 6 shots off the lead for Corey Connors.
Justin Rose looking for a birdie at the 15th. His challenge has faded. He's back to 1 under par, and that putt still going, disappearing, and in, and a clenched fist and a smile from Justin Rose as he moves back to 2 under par. And it was the bogeys at 7, 10 and 11 that really undid his challenge.
Bryson DeChambeau looking to pick up another birdie on the 14th that would take him to 3 under par after drop shots for him over the last few holes, and that's a better face for DeChambeau. 2 bogeys for him so far on the back 9, but a birdie on the 14th to take him to 3 under par.
And here is the 14th for the tee shot of Victor Hovland, looking to find the green with his drive. He's got the big stick out and it's just leaking a little bit to the right, it looks like, and yes, it has, and it's either found the bunker or the rough. Difficult to tell from the angle that we have there, but it's up around adjacent to the green. All depends on the lie that he gets, whether that's in the hazard or in the rough.
I think it's in the rough.
See Koepka's attempt.
Yeah, which would he prefer, do you think, quickly, Zane? The rough or the bunker?
He would prefer the bunker. It's a bit more predictable. Victor Hovland not quite having the power, but Brooks Koepka does have the power to reach this hole and drive the green.
Yeah, and he's got the big stick out as well. 298 yards to the front of the green, 320 to the flag itself, and that is a mighty high strike, 132 feet high with the driver, and he's plumb onto the surface of the green. Will it stick? Because there's a really mean downslope to the left-hand side, but it doesn't. It just comes up short of that horrible slope in the first cut of rough, so he'll be putting from off the smooth putting surface, but up on that tabletop green. That was an enormous drive from Brooks Koepka, a full 320, and he had the control to stop it as well on the surface.
Yeah, that was a fantastic shot. To fly all that way and stop it that quickly was not many players in the world have that talent, but that was a big moment for him there, having watched Victor come up short, and Victor really chasing him down, and he's just applied that pressure again. So here we have Rory at 16 with his approach shot, Ian.
Yeah, second shot from the middle of the fairway, an inviting looking green, and he launches that up onto the putting surface. Super shot from McIlroy, and he's put it to 10 feet, so a birdie chance coming for the man from Northern Ireland as he jauntily walks up there. And I can't help feeling that with Koepka, if he goes on to win, and I'll be in the bar tonight somewhere and the Golf Channel will be on, and they'll be showing the highlights, and they'll keep showing that tee shot on 14, because that was a very significant moment, him finding the green in 1 and being able to putt for his second shot on that par 4. But I can't help feeling that the par save on 15 really was the key shot on this back 9 if he goes on to win.
Yeah, that really set up that tee shot.
Sorry, on 30.
Yeah, that really set up that tee shot. He would have been just in a bit of a better mood having walked off. He knows how big that was, and he knew he had the advantage walking to the 14th tee on Victor, because Victor can't quite reach that hole. He actually laid up yesterday, he's come up short today, and now with Brooks putting for an eagle, he knows he's really in charge.
We've seen so many players go for that 14th as well, and haven't seen many succeed in getting it on the green, but Brooks Koepka, the leader by 1, has. Corey Connors on the 15th, the par 3 that we heard Michael Block ace a few moments ago. Well, he's on the left-hand side of the green, pin high is Corey Connors, but out of the running really for this title at 2 under par, the Canadian. And here is Victor Hovland, Ian, coming to find out where his ball ended up. I think it's on that kind of corridor of rough between the 2 bunkers.
Very thick kind of blades of grass we keep talking about the juicy rough. It's a very British feel to this golf course, given the latitude that we're at, as we see Scheffler with his tee shot now at 16, and that one bounding down the fairway. A lot more run in the fairways as this very dry final day progresses, and a little bit of breeze kicking up to help dry them out as well. But that's an excellent tee shot from Scotty Scheffler. So very broad kind of leaves on the grass here, which does make it very sticky, makes it very difficult, especially when it's wet. But just judging the consistency of the flight of the ball out of the sand, or out of the grass rather than the sand, is the issue that Hovland is going to face here.
Yeah, he's got plenty of green to work with. That is one part that's going to be going for him, but you can't see the bottom of the pin, I don't think, from when he's over the ball. So he's going to walk onto the green, kind of get a feel for how firm the green is, what the slope's doing, and then when he's down there, get a couple of practice swings in this long rough and just see how much the club is being slowed down when it hits that grass. It is really thick. You know, he's not making much of a follow through here. Try and get steep as possible back onto that green. Yeah, just really try and hit down on it and get that ball to pop up. Somehow you got to find the bottom of the ball.
And it's a cuppy lie, as they call it. Ball just sort of sitting down in those wide bladed leaves of grass. Bumps it up and into the air and onto the putting surface, and then it runs up towards the flag, and that's really very, very good from Hovland. Missed just to the left edge and slight lack of control on it, so it has run on by 6, 7, maybe 8 feet, but the outcome could have been an awful lot worse from there.
Rory McIlroy for birdie on the 16th to bounce back from his drop shot on the 15th, and that one's dribbled by on the left-hand side. And Rory McIlroy's got that look on his face again, the slumped shoulders, the gritted teeth. It's been another day of grind for McIlroy after such a bright start.
Yeah, it's clearly another major that's going to pass him by. They're all adding up now. At some point, we hope he's going to break it, but is there a question? Is Rory McIlroy going to win another major? It just seems to... Each time we think maybe this will be the one, but it's not quite working out for him. We seem to see this quite a lot now.
It's a legitimate question, there's no doubt. Next stop is the Los Angeles Country Club. We haven't been there for a major before, and certainly not for the US Open in my memory, and really looking forward to that. I'll tell you where we're staying for that one. Looking forward to that a bit more than my anonymous hotel.
Where you're staying for that one?
Where I'm staying, yeah. Here's Koepka putting for eagle on the 14th, and this one runs on and just goes by, but it should be a birdie, and that would take him to 9 under par. Hovland's going to have a 9-footer that he's going to have to make, he will feel, to just stay in touch. Just one shot behind as it stands at the moment. Koepka 8 under, Hovland 7 under, Scheffler 6 under. Fantastic leaderboard.
Yeah, and Hovland is paddling around all over the line of his putt coming up, that aim point method in which the players measure the contours of the green through the soles of their shoes, and it's become a very popular method amongst some of the top players over the last couple of years, but he wants to take every care over this one. What do you think the line is on this one, Zane? Because if this one drops, he's got a share of the lead, with obviously a birdie putt coming up for Koepka.
It's not going to break much. There's a tiny bit left to right. It's on that tabletop at the back there, but he's got to keep the pace up if he wants to make this one.
Yeah, it feels like another must-make for Victor Hovland to try and keep up with Brooks Koepka, who's got just a few feet for his birdie. This one's about 10 feet for Hovland, straight at the hole and straight in. Whoa, what a test of the mettle of the Norwegian. And he's passed it with flying colours. Back-to-back birdies for Hovland on the 13th and the 14th, and he moves for now into a share of the lead with a birdie putt coming up for Koepka, which could see him reinstate himself out front at the top of the leaderboard.
That adds a few inches to the Koepka putt, there's no doubt. And Koepka is ready now. It's only a couple of feet though, should make this. And in it goes. So Koepka makes the birdie that keeps his nose in front. Hovland only momentarily level at 8 under par at the top of the leaderboard. Feels like it's turning into a 2-horse race between the American and the Norwegian, and it's Koepka with his nose in front as it stands at 9 under.
You're listening to 5 Live. We're giving you full coverage right the way through to the close of play of the final round of the PGA Championship. The action happening out in Rochester in New York, up near the Great Lakes and just a few miles from the Canadian border. Our golf correspondent Ian Carter is out there for us, so bringing us all the sights and sounds and smells of, the media tent. It's not quite as glamorous as it sounds. And then here in Salford, Zane Scotland, a former European Tour player and now coach, alongside us. Get in touch, tell us how you're watching the golf and who you think is going to close this out. Only one shot in it. Brooks Koepka at the top by 1 shot. He's on 9 under par as he and Victor Hovland head to the 15th. Victor Hovland on 8 under, and Scotty Scheffler just behind Ian. He's on the 16th on 6 under.
Yeah, and he's got 133 yards to the flag. A gap wedge as he sends it high into the sky, and the ball lands very softly on the green and just has a little action on it, which means that it'll trundle back, not at any great rate of knots, but just lengthens the birdie putt that will come to probably 15, 16 feet. And Koepka, Scheffler just showing a little bit of frustration there.
Well, they heard the roars when Michael Block aced it on the 15th, and they've come to witness more drama. The leaders have now reached the par 3. 9-iron in hand for Victor Hovland in his bright orange t-shirt and his white baseball cap, and that was beautifully weighted into the wind. The flagstick just lazily flapping in the breeze, but a good 30-40 feet from the pin for Hovland for his birdie. He was looking to get a little bit closer there, Zane.
Yeah, he got the distance right, but he did pull that one a little bit. This is a bit of a birdie chance. 151 yards. Brooks Koepka now, Ian, with a 9-iron.
Yep, and 3/4 swing, launches into it. Very easy, solid-looking action, but he's pulled it to the left as well. And he will be slightly further away than Victor Hovland, it looks like, on the angle. They're both about 25 feet from the cup, both finding the left half of the green with the flag cut on the right-hand side of the putting surface. So outside birdie chances for both.
Yeah, a little bit timid, those 2 shots there. It's the first time we've seen a lot of good golf from those 2 guys. Victor keeps asking the question of Brooks Koepka, but Brooks Koepka has the answer every single time, so far. So a little bit timid there, but I think it's about time we see a putt or a chip go in. We have seen Michael Block make a hole-in-one. We'll take that. But from one of the leaders, there's a big putt going in somewhere.
4 holes left to go. Who do you think is under the most pressure at the moment?
Brooks Koepka is under the pressure, but so far he's dealt with it really, really well. He's got Scotty Scheffler and Victor Hovland both playing well, both chasing him down, both with nothing to lose really, because it has now been Brooks's all day. So he's been going for quite a few hours now. Can he sustain it for another hour or so? That's the question we've got for him.
One thing I'd say about Koepka is the body language is just so much better than it was at the Masters. And of course, you could say, well, he's not got a massively informed Jon Rahm to try and beat, and Rahm played one of the great major tournaments to win that by 4, but he's also not got Patrick Cantlay in front of him. And I don't mean to just sort of call out Cantlay, but the pace of the play on that final day of the Masters really got under Koepka's skin. And as he's alluded to this week, he made mental errors that he effectively said amounted to a choke, because he had a 2-shot lead going into the final round. He'd been 4 shots clear earlier in the tournament as well, and I think he's learnt from that, and the demeanour is just that much more patient, as we've been saying, but confident, cocksure the way that he's walking forward, and coming up with, as I say, that response that he did on the 13th. Hovland's made his birdie. It's a real tester for par, and he makes it, and that's the kind of thing you have to do to land a major.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. As you say, his body language looks great. I think he's just driving the ball so well. That's the first part. That's what we're seeing. I think the tee shot from the first was really important for him, because he had such a poor tee shot off the first hole in the last round of the Masters when he pulled it way left onto another fairway. Today, that high towering fade, and he just kept on that. You know, he's really hit the ball well and bringing pretty much into control of his game. You know, Victor Hovland is also been pressing him. He's not letting him get away with anything. You know, he's really been asking those questions. But it just seems to be, as you say, there's a bit of an authenticity to Brooks Koepka now. You know, he knows when he can be defiant, but he's been quite open about what went wrong, which really tells us that he's obviously gone and thought about it and gone, right, next time I'm in this scenario, this is how I'm going to respond to it, and it's gone really, really well so far.
Well, the players have arrived on the 15th green, the little par 3, and it is Koepka who's going to putt first. They've both been surveying the contours of the putting surface, and this will start downhill for Koepka, so a delicate little movement of the putter head as he feels the putt with his practice swings. And now he sends it on its way down that slope, gathers pace towards the hole, needs to keep going. He's been a little timid, but it still rolls and rolls and comes to rest just to the right of the hole, and it's a stone cold par 3, and it will keep him at 9 under par, and he'll probably calculate in his head that that'll be enough to keep him ahead. But Zane, Hovland will have learnt a little from that one.
He would. He was looking on intently, and he's coming down pretty much the same line. And Brooks Koepka was a little bit timid there. You know, he just was trying to get it to fall on the front edge. As we take a quick look at Scotty Scheffler on 16, Cat.
Yeah, for birdie here. Now, this would really put him in the mix, wouldn't it? But he's given that a real rap, almost as though the adrenaline was surging through his body. Drifts by on the left-hand side. So it should be tap-in par for Scheffler on the 16th. That'll keep him at 6 under, 2 shots behind Hovland, 3 behind Koepka. And what can Hovland do here with another long-range birdie putt across this really skinny 16th green? And as Zane says, he'll have had a good read on it, Ian, from Koepka's lie.
Around about 23, 24 feet this one. Thousands of people around this par 3, all standing on the banking, craning their necks, looking to see if this is going to drop for Victor Hovland. Borrowing from left to right, the ball starts its journey now, and it's on its way, and he's not given it enough in terms of pace or the break from left to right, and ultimately it comes up towards the hole side, and it should be a tap-in par 3.
Scotty Scheffler just tidying up for his par on the 16th, and it goes. Scheffler wearing a white t-shirt and white baseball cap, very similar to the outfit that Brooks Koepka is wearing, apart from navy blue trousers. And in it goes for Hovland as well for his par on the 15th. So Hovland will stay at 8 under, Scheffler stays at 6 under, and Koepka at 9 under. We are getting plenty of interaction from our listeners, so thank you very much for joining us on 5 Live this Sunday evening, listening to 5 Live coverage in my car while looking out to sea and the beautiful sunset in North Devon. Well, doesn't that sound blissful? Rob, thank you so much for getting in touch. Andrew says, Michael Block, what a week he is having. What position does he need to get to get invites to the rest of the majors? Well, we've said a top 15 wins him a spot at the US PGA next year, and also a message saying credit where credit is due for Rory McIlroy on this PGA Championship performance. His head, by his own admission, wasn't in the right place, yet he's battled for 4 days and somehow dragged himself into contention on the back 9 on Sunday. I'm not sure he's quite in contention anymore, but absolutely it's been a really gritty performance from Rory McIlroy, and one that I'm sure he'll take plenty of positives away from. Bryson DeChambeau on 3 under par. He's just a couple of positions ahead of Rory McIlroy, Ian.
Yeah, and he's hitting from the rough down the right side of the 16th. Not happened for DeChambeau today. Finds the putting surface, and it's pin high, level with the flag, which is on the left side of the green. His ball is firmly on the right side of that putting surface.
Michael Block 1 over par, his 3rd shot into the par 4 17th. What a beast of a hole that is, 507 yards, and it's an absolute beauty from Block with the wedge, and lands about 10-15 feet past the hole.
Corey Connors with a better approach into 16 than his playing partner DeChambeau. Nicely judged for length, and he's put it to 16 feet from the cup.
Just looking at what Michael Block has done since that ace on the 15th. He's picked up a bogey on the 16th, I'm afraid, so that's why he's slipped back into the black figures and is 1 over par. So currently in a share for 15th. That would be enough to see him back next year.
It would, wouldn't it, just? And that kneesy wedge shot that Ian quite liked coming into play there, he played that really nicely.
The dippy knees. I only like it because that's kind of like one of the many afflictions with which my golf is beset. Anyway, here is Victor Hovland with his tee shot here on 16. The ball moving from left to right. He's missed a number of tee shots down the left side. This one he's missed down the right hand side just when he needed a fairway most.
Is he going to allow Brooks Koepka to stroll away with it down the stretch? Scotty Scheffler's coming hot though. 17th for Scheffler, the 507-yard par 4. And this one looks like it's bounding down the right-hand side. Just clings on to the smooth stuff. These are such narrow fairways. And the 17th seems to get narrower and narrower as you approach that undulating green with its runoffs and its tight lies to the left and the right. Really, really stout finish for the last couple of holes here with these horrible par 4s. And Koepka is also down the right hand side there as well, Ian.
Yes, settling down into the rough, just clearing the bunker down the right hand side as we see on 17. Block hole out, and everyone in the grandstand gets to their feet. Well, pretty much everyone. Everyone is applauding though. He's gone 1-5-4 in his last 3 holes as Michael Block. This extraordinary story. I think Zane summed it up brilliantly. You know, is this a film that we're watching? Because someone somewhere is thinking about a Hollywood script right now for this this chap from South California. I mean, what a story. Really is fantastic to see. Justin Suh finishing up. We were talking about him a lot yesterday. Final round 74 for him, and he finishes at 4 over par. He played in the company of Tommy Fleetwood, for whom not much happened today. I'll give you details on him in a moment, but first just to tell you that following his birdie at 15, Justin Rose dropping a shot at 16, so the Englishman is back to 1 under par.
Perfect, yeah. First step's going to be
the new slimline Bryson DeChambeau. Those who don't listen to golf or watch golf all that frequently may know the name of Bryson DeChambeau, the man who kind of shook up golf about 4 years ago when he burst onto the scene, bulked up, eating 5,000 calories a day, and he said he was going to rewrite the script, the bomb and gouge game for Bryson, the big drives off the tee and then smashing it onto the green and sinking the putt. That's his approach to golf, but he's had to have a bit of a rethink recently, having been diagnosed with all kinds of food allergies to dairy, gluten, wheat. Has lost a lot of weight, is not eating anywhere near as much food, still hitting it an absolute mile, and here he is on the 16th. This his third shot is birdie putt across the face of the green and getting ever closer for Bryson DeChambeau, but just coming up short. And it should be a tap-in par for the 2020 US Open champion who overcame the beast that was Winged Foot. And he had high hopes coming into this as well, because there's similarities, aren't there, between Oak Hill and Winged Foot with this horrible rough and these narrow fairways.
Yeah, they're not too far away from each other. It's a slight difference there. I think at Winged Foot it was so tight that almost nobody could hit a fairway. Where here there are some sections. If you can shape it, you can keep it in some of the fairways. And he's put that mini driver in this week, and his driving stats have been very good. So when he's got his big boy driver out and he's really trying to hurtle one down there, every now and again, if he needs to just get one in play, he can put his mini driver in, which is like a strong 3, but almost like an old 2-wood. And that's played well for him. So maybe a bit of a plan, a bit of a strategy going forward.
And he'll be heading to the par 4 17th next, playing 507 yards. That is a massive par 4, as it's a par 5 for the members at Oak Hill. Unsurprising.
Ian, do you remember when a 450-yard par 4 was a long par 4?
Yeah, I remember when a 450-yard par 4 was a par 5. Well, actually, it was like 475 yards, wasn't it? It officially became a par 5.
It's now driving a wedge that hole.
It just shows, and it's part of the big debate in the game of golf as to what should happen, and the governing bodies have proposed that for the professionals they'll use a ball that doesn't fly as far as the balls that Kat and I could use as an amateur. So in the elite game you would play with an elite ball if you like, and that has upset certain constituencies of the game, including the PGA of America. It would seem, reading between the lines, they're not fans of this bifurcation of different rules for different people. One thing I'd say is there's nothing to stop the amateur who wants to play exactly the same in the same circumstances as the pros from buying a pro ball and trying their luck when they go to a big golf course that is a bucket list or something like that. I think that opportunity is still there. I think that's a message that potentially needs to come out as we go through this whole process, because I do think that the ball does need to be reined back, because these players are hitting it further and further and further. Here's Scotty Scheffler on the 17th with his second shot in. Needs a huge finish here, potentially a birdie finish might get the job done, but he's leaked that out to the right onto the putting surface, but miles upon miles in relative terms from the flag, so he's going to have to hold a real big one to give himself a chance. Tommy Fleetwood, by the way, 71 today, so he finished his PGA at 2 over par.
Victor Hovland's ball has found the pure white sand of one of these long, slim bunkers down the right-hand side of the 16th, and you can really pick him out in this bright orange T-shirt, which he says, "Look, I don't care what I wear." He's had all kinds of comments on his kit this week. He says, "They pay me to wear it, so I just wear it." 9-iron in his hand to, oh my word, I think he's done what Corey Connors did yesterday in exactly the same bunker. He hasn't managed to pick it up out the sand. He didn't take a wedge. He took the 9-iron to try and get the distance to the hole. 192 yards it was. And Corey Connors, well, we're just getting another look at that shot from yesterday. It is an identical mistake. Didn't get the loft out of the sand, and Victor Hovland has smashed it into the seam between the sand and the turf, and the ball will be embedded. At least we know what the rule is now here. He gets a free drop, but he has to drop it within a club's length, and that left a very tricky lie for Corey Connors yesterday, standing on the ridge of the bunker. And Victor Hovland cannot believe that he's made such a mistake at such a late stage.
Absolutely identical. The position in the bunker that Corey Connors was in yesterday, and it's gone to the same part of the lip. They're now having the same chat about where he can drop it. Can he go to the easy side, which is to the left?
Either this way or this way. Basically,
he's going to have to drop it right again. It looks like in a way he's going to not be able to get to the green. And this is just absolutely disastrous.
The rough here is almost like a really thick shag pile carpet, and it meets the sand in a straight line with a sharp edge, and the ball has just been smacked into that sharp edge and therefore completely lodged under the lip of the bunker. And just looking at the reaction, the hole that the ball has made in the side of the bunker here is a good 2 or 3 inches deep. And Victor Hovland, well, he crossed his arms, he covered his eyes with his hands. He could not believe that the ball had ended up there. He was going for the green, he had that 9-iron in his hand, and now he's got the driver as he tries to work out where on earth he can drop it.
Big moment up at the 18th where Michael Block is hitting his second shot, and he's pulled it into the crowd from the right rough into the left rough, and this might be a prosaic way that this dream week is going to end for Michael Block.
Justin Rose at 1 under par, so a good 8 shots off the lead now on the 17th. A bit of a clear passage through to the flag, and oh my goodness me, Justin Rose nearly dropped it in for an eagle on the 17th. That would have been spectacular. Just bounces a couple of centimetres right of the cup and refuses to drop. That would have been a really, really solid finish for Justin Rose, but as it is, he will stick on, well, I think he might move to 2 under if he can tap that in, which I think he probably should. Michael Block, though, well, he's had to push the crowd way back down the left-hand side of this 17.
He's loved it, hasn't he? I mean, his whole body language has been, you know, some people might cower in the level of attention that he's had, but he's absolutely revelled in it, and it's a wonderful scene around the 18th green here at Oak Hill. Meanwhile, back on the 16th, Shay Knight, the caddy of Victor Hovland and the referee Ted Antonopoulos are working out exactly where he has to drop the ball, but it's the same scenario as it was for Corey Connors yesterday. Although, Zane, I think it was a slightly different shot because the amount of sand that Hovland picked up there, it suggested to me that it wasn't like a thin shot off the bottom of the club. It was, I don't know whether he fatted it low in there or what, but it, you know, in terms of the contact, it was slightly different.
Yeah, it was slightly different. He does get a little bit steeper than Corey Connors, but maybe it was on a tiny bit more of a downslope at that point. But they're obviously taking the drop right now, but what a big break that is for Brooks Koepka with the lead. You know, that is some sight. You know, he's in the fairway, standing over there thinking, right, okay, he's in a bit of bother here, and he's just watching it all unfold. He's just probably taking a few minutes to himself just to gather his thoughts a little bit.
Here's Michael Block with his chip cat from the rough down the left of the 18th, final hole of his Odyssey. Just watch these knees, see how dippy they go.
Dippy knees, there's a finger of green pushing the crowd back, and Michael Block stands in the middle of it, and he's got a sand trap to fly and up about 6 foot, 7 foot onto the green, and what a beautifully judged little clip off the trampled down grass to the left-hand side of the 18th, and just catches the downslope, comes through the fringe of rough, and well, he gives the crowd a bit of a flap of his hands saying, come on, I deserve a big old cheer for that. Rory McIlroy with his congratulations as well for Michael Block, who has scrambled magically out of the rough down the left-hand side of the last, and he'll give himself a good chance to save his par here if he can sink the putt.
Back on the 16th, the shenanigans with Hovland are just about happen now. He's just about ready to drop his ball, if he hasn't dropped it already. He's pulled the wedge from his club, and well, I wonder what's been going through the mind of Brooks Koepka. But Hovland now with his third shot here on the par 4, and all he can do is just bunt it into the fairway. So unless something extraordinary happens, he's going to drop at least one shot on this hole with just 2 to go afterwards, and that really strengthens the position of Koepka, who will be coming up with his second shot, leading at 9 under, 1 ahead of Hovland as the leaderboards reflect it right now.
And here is Koepka, his ball just dribbling 311 yards into the rough down the left-hand side, left himself about 135 yards to the pin, and he's judged it absolutely perfectly. It's as if he's looked at Hovland and he said, oh, bad luck, mate. I'm going to take all of the positive energy that you've been carrying around, and I'm going to pile it on to my positive energy, and this is going to carry me through.
Yeah, what a massive moment that was. Hovland staring
Clinical.
double bogey in the face, and then to put it in to within 3 feet, Ian. Now Rory
McIlroy looking to finish with a birdie, and very nearly does from long range across the 18th green, and the ball shaves the left edge of the hole but stays above ground.
And here's Scheffler for his birdie, a similar length of putt on the 17th for Scheffler. This would really put the cat amongst the pigeons, wouldn't it, with 1 left to go after this, and Scheffler as well, it just drifts by on the uphill side for the world number 2, and maybe Scheffler has left it a little bit too late to put on the burners and chase down Brooks Koepka, who is on the green in 2 on the 16th.
Hovland's 4th shot into the 16th, just a wedge in, sends it on its way up towards the hole, but he's still comfortably outside Koepka's approach shot, which was absolutely clinical, and so it's looking very much as though the American is going to win the Wanamaker Trophy.
Can Michael Block save his par on the 18th? The fairy tale is complete for the club pro from California, who has had, well, the week of dreams around Oak Hill, and he's doffing his cap and he's getting down to pray as though he's worshipping Rory McIlroy, to say what a dream it's been to play with the world number 3. And Harry Diamond, Rory McIlroy's caddy, just walks around the back of the 18th green to pat him on the back, and Michael Block has to shush the crowd for Rory McIlroy's putt, because he has won this crowd. He's had them in the palm of his hand for the past 4 days, and he has given them quite a show. That ace on the 15th, well, that was the icing on the cake.
Here's McIlroy to finish off with a par at the last in a closing round of 69. A gutsy effort for the man from Northern Ireland, and a huge hug for Michael Block. That's lovely sportsmanship there. The humble club pro hugged by the superstar. And McIlroy finishes off with a par, as I say, a round of 69, a really gutsy effort. And it's not often that Rory McIlroy is upstaged on a golf course, but he most certainly has been by, as I say, a humble pro from Southern California, and he points all around and he pats his chest once again, and the cameras are on Michael Block. Rory McIlroy has scuttled off after his round of 69, which has left him at 2 under par for the championship. And there's Mrs. Block with a huge hug for her husband, and he's landed a mighty check by his standards anyway this week. But he has won the hearts of the whole of American golf with a stunning performance. And what did he finish on?
One over par.
So 70, 71 for the club pro. Brilliant stuff.
And if you were just switching on to the coverage now, you would think that Michael Block had won the Wanamaker Trophy, but he hasn't. Victor Hovland with a bogey putt on the 16th. He is falling away now, the Norwegian. He will drop 2 shots, Will Hovland, and he will fall to 6 under par. So 3 shots off the lead now of Brooks Koepka, who is out in front. And Koepka with a birdie putt to come. But incredible scenes up ahead on the 18th. If Koepka wins this, will he get cheers as loud as we just heard for the club pro Michael Block?
Good question, Kat. This is a big moment here, though, because this would take Koepka 4 shots clear with just 2 holes to play. This is effectively, well, not quite game, set and match, but very close for the live player. Koepka sends it forward, borrows from right to left, drops into the middle of the cup. Easy as you like, absolutely clinical on 16, while Hovland was having his trials and tribulations and making that double bogey. Koepka picks up his 3rd birdie in 5 holes and eases towards a 3rd PGA title, because that birdie takes him to 10 under par, 4 clear of Hovland and of Scotty Scheffler.
4 shots clear now, Brooks Koepka, and 2 holes away from a 5th major championship. We'll be back with all the excitement of the closing stages as Brooks Koepka closes in on the Wanamaker Trophy. But for now on 5 Live, time for the latest news with Stuart Clarkson.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thank you. Good evening. Rishi Sunak is expected to meet his ethics advisor tomorrow to discuss claims that the Home Secretary Suella Braverman broke government rules by asking civil servants for help after she was caught speeding. Officials refused to arrange a special one-to-one driving awareness course, and she later accepted points and a fine. President Zelensky is returning to Ukraine tonight after addressing leaders at the G7 in Japan. He left the summit having secured further promises of financial and military support, including American-made F-16 fighter jets. Meanwhile, the commander of Ukraine's ground forces says they're close to surrounding the eastern city of Bakhmut. Kyiv has disputed the Russian Wagner mercenary group's claims to have taken full control of the city. And Scotland's First Minister Humza Yousaf says his party will investigate its handling of sexual assault allegations made against a former SNP council leader. Police Scotland are investigating Jordan Linden, who resigned from North Lanarkshire Council and left the SNP earlier this year. Mr Linden says he does not accept the allegations.
The Monaco circuit. Longitude and latitude 43 degrees 44 minutes 5 seconds north, 7 degrees 25 minutes 14 seconds east, 2.074 miles in length, 19 turns.
F1 live race commentary from the Monaco Grand Prix next Sunday from 2
on 5 Live.
Persistent rain has seen the paddock at the circuit in Imola evacuated because of the risk of flooding.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
PGA Championship Golf with Catherine Downs on 5 Live and BBC Sounds.
Yes, welcome back. Final round commentary. We're into the final 2 holes for the last group out on the course. The leader, Brooks Koepka, now 4 clear and 2 holes away from a 5th major championship as he's hit his tee shot on the 17th, but it wasn't the best, Zane Scotland.
He's really wobbled now. Really unfortunate that one bad swing. He was actually in what I thought was quite a decent position in the bunker, able to reach the green, Koepka in the rough, and then in a real blink, really, his championship is pretty much over.
I feel like I came to you just as you were putting a Tang Fastic into your mouth, so my apologies for that, and very, very sorry for the listeners if you couldn't make out what Zane Scotland was saying. Basically, Koepka in a bit of trouble down the side of the par 4 17th, the 507-yard par 4, but with 4 shots clear, he does have a little bit of wriggle room. The world number 2, Scotty Scheffler, the Masters champion from last year, he's on the 18th, hitting his second shot into the last here, and Scheffler is just a couple of 4 shots back now from Koepka in a share for second with Victor Hovland, and that one looked pretty good, Zane.
Lovely shot there over the pin, nice and aggressive. Yeah, maybe a little bit too late for Scheffler, as Brooks Koepka has been so good today. As DeChambeau just comes up short of his birdie putt, looks a bit frustrated. What a week that could have been for Bryson DeChambeau. He looked much better this week, hasn't quite had it, but good to see him back in the mix. He's been out of contention for quite a while, especially in these big events, and he seems to just turned a bit of a corner. I kind of feel like he's come back to being a golfer again, not just an expert long driver of the ball.
Or a gimmick, not just a gimmick.
Exactly.
Scotty Scheffler walking up the crowds there, Ian, they're massive. I think they're the loudest crowds I've heard in a long time on a major championship golf course.
Well, they love their sport in these parts, whatever it is, and I kept calling it upstate New York. Apparently, it's Western New York, but either way, it's a relatively remote part of the United States. You're well north of the metropolis of New York. You're well west of Boston, and so it's a big deal when an event such as the PGA comes to these parts, and they turn out in their droves, and they do so with real passion. And yesterday the crowds were still amazing in terms of their numbers, despite the filthy weather that they had to encounter. And so it's a good atmosphere, always a good atmosphere here at Oak Hill. And the New York crowds in general are among the most boisterous, and you just wonder, there were boos on the tee yesterday for Bryson DeChambeau, a bit of a mixed reception for Brooks Koepka, although I think it was more the kind of Brooks kind of chant rather than a boo, like you get at a Bruce Springsteen concert. But nonetheless, it just does make you wonder what it'll be like for the next American Ryder Cup, which is at Bethpage in New York, because the crowds will let the Europeans know all about that. There's no doubt about that. So it's been a great atmosphere here all week, and they've been treated to a wonderful major. I think it's a fantastic golf course. It's a much improved golf course compared with what it was for the previous 2 PGAs that I've attended, opening up the full vista and it's been a mighty test for these players. And my goodness me, Brooks Koepka to get to 10 under par, any player getting to 10 under par. I mean, at the start of the week we were talking anyone who got to 5 or 6 would probably emerge with the trophy. Yes, the course has got that bit easier today because of yesterday's rain and the very pleasant conditions. But there's a little bit for him to concentrate on here, Zane, because he's in the rough down the right-hand side, and he's got to make a few decisions, hasn't he, just in terms of how he plays his second shot. But before that, Victor Hovland.
Yeah, you can barely see his golf shoes in the rough down the left-hand side. Victor Hovland, those white shoes disappearing into the really thick rough. A 306-yard drive has still left him 211 yards, just to give you an idea of what an absolute monster this 17th is. And he's threaded that one up through the sand traps, but into those hillocks and tussocks down the right-hand side of the 17th. It's a really kind of undulating grass bunker trap there, so it's going to be a tricky third shot for Victor Hovland. Just trying to listen into what Brooks Koepka is saying to his caddy.
The only thing we need to miss is these two here.
That's what I'm saying, these two, but I'm saying even if you hit like an 8-iron, just cut it around.
But do you not think like sort of chipping out and like going to the wedge?
That's fine, yeah, I don't mind that as well, but I'm just worried about it chipping and going.
The problem is that like if it comes out a bit squirmy and we go in one of these bunkers, it's a 7-yard shot.
Yeah, no, I hear you, but I'm worried about if you get on the other side of that thing, the wind's out the left.
Yeah, but that's not going to curve much of it. That's going to come out straight. So, I mean, I think we chip out.
Okay.
Ricky Elliott, the Northern Ireland caddy of Brooks Koepka, is very clear. You just chip this out and get back in position. We're in such a strong position.
He's just saying, be sensible.
I want my 10% of the of the 3.15 million that is going to go to the winner here, and in all probability to Brooks Koepka, 4 shots clear. What did you make of that, Zane, that exchange?
Yeah, we've just come off the whole of a bit of unforced drama, really, with Victor Hovland's had there. And he's 4 ahead, and he knows if he can just get back on the short stuff, especially at this point, put it back on the short stuff. It's a tough hole. Knock it on, have a putt apart, no dramas. Bogey's not a bad score on this hole right now.
And chops it out. It is a thick lie, and the ball comes squirting out onto the fairway, runs up to a cameraman who was standing in the middle of the fairway. He has to scuttle out of the shot, but he's done exactly the right thing there. He's put it into the middle of the fairway. He might make a bogey here, but it won't matter a jot, you sense, in terms of the outcome of the championship.
Scotty Scheffler to take the clubhouse lead on the last, putting through some fallen leaves in the breeze, and that is a beauty of a putt from Scotty Scheffler. He clenches his fist 15 foot or so down the hill and into the heart of the hole. A birdie to finish for the world number 2, and a 5 under par 65, and that is the new marker to beat. Scotty Scheffler on 7 under par in the clubhouse, and Brooks Koepka looking to chip out and play conservative golf on the 17th, still with a 3-shot lead.
But if he drops a shot here, then that lead goes down to 2 going to the final hole, so it ain't quite over yet. One thing we can say categorically is that Scotty Scheffler now goes back to the top of the world rankings when they're published tomorrow. One other thing we can say is that the world rankings are completely wrong when they have Brooks Koepka at 44 in the world.
I think not so long ago, and before that runner-up finish at the Masters, he was down at 111, I think.
He's at least top 43.
Here comes Koepka then, 123 yards out, 3rd shot to the 17th, eases it in with a wedge, and the brakes come on a little too early for his absolute liking, and he's put it to 15-16 feet, so that to remain at 10 under par and 3 shots clear.
Corey Connors with mounds and bunkers and all kinds of topography down the right-hand side of the 18th, and he's tugged this one left and into the sand just in front and to the left of the green on the 18th. Just really tricky to get any control out of that long rough, and he's landed in the sand on the 18th. 1 under par though, Connors. His race is run.
Bryson DeChambeau from the middle of the fairway with his second shot into 18. That grandstand absolutely jam-packed behind, a real stadium feel to round the elevated green of this 18th that's seen so much drama down the years. And DeChambeau's ball landing in the middle of the green, but just taking the slope that gives a gradient that will make the ball tumble away from the hole, and he's probably 30 feet from the cup.
Yeah, pretty nice shot in there, just catching that little bank there, but it's been a good showing from Bryson DeChambeau. He's not had much form coming into this event, so a little bit of a reminder that he's still a guy to be contended with. Been a little bit forgotten about. Bit of an up and down today, 3 bogeys, but all in all he's going to have a putt to finish -4 for this championship, well inside the top 10. I think good signs for him going forward for the rest of the major season.
Yeah, top.
Getting a good reception as he comes up the 18th here, which is significant. He's waving to all sides there. Lots of cheers for him as he makes his way up, touches the peak of his cap, and having been booed on the first tee, well, there are a few boos there as well.
There are a few boos, yeah.
There are. Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. He's a bit of a Marmite character still. That's the reception for him. He's still got a bit of a way to go to just get up onto the putting circuit. He's waving as if he's golfing royalty. He's taking the cap from his head, and he's encouraging the noise. And it's not all supportive, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think he looks very comfortable, actually. He's scurrying along there. He's taken the cap off to acknowledge the cheers, because there are cheers. But I think he looks a little bit uncomfortable scurrying up onto the green on the 18th. You can still hear the jeers for Bryson DeChambeau playing alongside Corey Connors. DeChambeau currently in a tie for 4th, which would equal his best finish at the PGA Championship back in 2020, the year, of course, in which he won his lone major at the US Open. Corey Connors, though, the wait for a major win goes on for him, Ian.
It does, but he's getting ever closer. He had 3 major top 10s in his career before, and curiously they've all come at the Masters. He won the Texas Open earlier this year for the 2nd time. That's his only PGA Tour title, winning that twice. But here he is from the bunker. He'll have learnt a lot, I'm sure, from the experience of this week. Splashes it out towards the hole and missing just on the right-hand side there. And he should be able to save his par from there. So Corey Connors just waits to complete his round as we look back now at the 3rd shot from the rough for Victor Hovland, who's suddenly looking a very beaten figure. But that's a nice shot that he's played there, Zane, coasing it up towards the hole. Should be able to save his par from there.
Yeah, really good shot there, out of ball above his weight, tricky lie, getting that within the par range. Now Brooks Koepka for par from about 15 feet up the hill, right to left, Ian.
To try and stay at 10 under par, hasn't given it enough, pays the penalty for the errant tee shot. Looks pretty relaxed about it, but that will drop him back to 9 under par, 3 under par for the day, and it means that he will take a 2-stroke advantage to the 72nd tee. Yeah, nice feeling.
Not quite as comfortable as it was about 10 minutes ago when he had that 4-stroke lead back on the tee. He's got something to think about now.
Hovland, this to remain at 6 under par. He's got 3rd place in his pocket, but can he get this in and then birdie the last to get a share of 2nd place and post his best finish in a major? Well, he's done the first bit, and that's an excellent up and down from Hovland, who I think has really profited from the longer grass around the greens, but has shown significant improvement in his short game this week.
Yeah, he has. His percentages have been right up at almost at 70% scrambling, which is a big improvement for him, and that's going to stand him in good stead going forward. But this man now just tapping in for bogey. Brooks Koepka looks like he's got this tournament in the palm of his hand right now. A half-decent tee-shirt off the 18th following this one, and he's going to have the Wanamaker Trophy pretty much in his hands, Ian.
Yep, 12 inches successfully negotiated for his bogey there, and that means that he is at he's at 9 under par, 3 under for the day, and 2 shots clear of Scotty Scheffler, the clubhouse leader, after his round of 65, and that was a magnificent performance, it has to be said, from Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah, just to move through the leaderboard like he did today. Yesterday was the tough day for Scotty Scheffler. That was the one where it kind of come a little bit unravelled, but didn't take him long to get his back in his stride, pulling himself up to second place with a fantastic birdie on the last hole, just really stamping that, and he's still here. He is now world number 1, and I think we're going to see a major win from Scotty Scheffler this year. He's starting to really own his own space now. You know, gone are the days when he gets so nervous and almost in tears before he played the last round, and he's now become a real force. Now Victor Hovland on the tee.
Yeah, I wonder how Victor Hovland is feeling, having watched his challenge just drift away. 3 shots now behind his playing partner Brooks Koepka in this final group, and now on the final tee, and that one just drifting down the left-hand side of the fairway. Better from Victor Hovland. His driving hasn't been as reliable as it had been over the first 3 days of this competition, and he's put himself in some difficult positions around this terribly punishing course, but finds the fairway on the final hole and will give himself a good chance of a strong finish, but still 3 shots back from Koepka, Ian.
7 out of 14 fairways hit for Victor Hovland today. Here comes Koepka then with his tee shot, as he looks to close out his 5th major victory, and he bends down, picks up the tee, which is always encouraging, and that ball bouncing down the right hand side, flirts with the bunker down the right hand side, but stays in the short stuff, and that's the hard bit done, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a real tight spot to where they're driving into there, and he's negotiated that perfectly. The left to right hole off the tee, suiting his fade, absolutely spot on, and he's played that down the right hand side, like you said, just skirted the bunker, and he's now got a left-hand pin, and you can only think that it's pretty much done now. If you can just put one more good swing on it, we're going to see a worthy champion in Brooks Koepka.
And you've got to look at Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus as the only players who have won the Wanamaker Trophy 3 times or more. Jack Nicklaus has won it 5 times. But that's elevated company to move into. You think of the great names of the game of golf, the likes of Seve Ballesteros as a 5 times winner of majors. Phil Mickelson is a 5 times winner. No, he's a 6-time winner, isn't he, of majors? But you're getting into really elevated company when you get to 5 majors on your resume. In terms of the modern game, Brooks Koepka is now going to move ahead of Rory McIlroy, and that's a significant little nudge ahead for Koepka. And as we were talking about earlier on, you know, is McIlroy ever going to win another major? You have to start asking that question. 8.5 years since his last one, and yeah, it's a significant moment, this. Koepka landing the Wanamaker Trophy for the 3rd time.
Yeah, it really is, and I think it's gonna press Rory a little bit. That he won't like the fact that Koepka would have nudged ahead of him in the major race. You know, and as you say, he's the most prolific major winner of the new kind of modern type of golfer. You know, we've seen Tiger Woods do just reel off majors like it was shelling peas, and then but behind that, Brooks Koepka seems to be the one man who seems to has the formula for major championships. When it comes to the regular events, he's there or thereabouts, but there's something about, yes, he had that slight lull, but now there's something about Brooks Koepka in a major. He just seems to be able to come through. Because I think if you look at all these players, if they just pitched up to a golf course and all, you know, threw in $100, they'll all be quite comparable. They'll be all different winners, but they're special players that under this sort of pressure with all the crowds and, you know, be really in the spotlight, can just come through and step up time and time again. And Brooks Koepka is one of those people. That's what makes him different.
Do you think he'll be remembered as one of the greats? You know, Ian mentioned some of those illustrious names who are also on the 5 major mark. Do you think Brooks will go down as one of the greats of the game? It's the US Open twice and looks like the PGA Championship 3 times. You know, not really featured at the Open. Obviously, runner-up a couple of times at the Masters as well. How does he stand in the pantheon of the sports greats?
I think as time carries on, I think we may, he probably needs to add one or two more to be in that greats kind of category, because even though he's a specialist at the majors, it's all the other parts that go with it as well. I think you got to, Tiger Woods was a great golfer because not only was he good at the majors, but he was also good at every other event and racked him up, whereas Brooks Koepka is a fantastic player. He's almost like a major specialist. To be one of the best players, you've got to do it all the time, relentlessly.
Always be part of the conversation. Always be contending.
Well, it's a different dynamic now as well, with him playing on the Live Golf Tour, unable to play on the PGA Tour. You would think unable to play on the DP World Tour. The only place he can play in at the highest level of the game is in the major championships. But he's finished second at the Masters, and he's about to win the next one. So you make a strong argument in 2023 that Brooks Koepka is potentially the best player in the world, and that's tough to say when you've got the likes of Jon Rahm and Scotty Scheffler in the picture as well. It just shows you there's a bit of discussion going on here between Victor Hovland and his caddy Shay Knight.
Not really. So at the moment I'm feeling no. Yeah. So let's go for it. Come on.
Real
pep talk from Shay.
I was going to say, I really like that energy coming from Shay Knight, Ian. Come on, let's go.
If you can make this one from the fairway, that'll take him to -8 and put a bit of pressure on Brooks Koepka. Why not? We've seen some magic today already.
So it's 178 yards out for Victor Hovland, his second shot into this 18th, and thousands of people around the 18th green explode into encouragement for the Norwegian. Such a popular figure, and that one flies the flag and just catches a little downslope at the back of the green, tiptoes slightly closer. 20 feet, 15 feet or so for Victor Hovland for his birdie coming up then, and the pressure now on Brooks Koepka, Ian.
Yeah, not that much pressure, I don't think. It's a 9-iron. It should be routine. If this lands in the green, we can say categorically that he has won. And it does land in the green, and it is as perfect as his golf has been for pretty much the entire 4 days here at Oak Hill. That is a wonderful approach shot, and he has put it to within 7, 8, maybe 9 feet tops away from the hole, and he could well finish in style. If he knocks that in, that would be a third successive 66, which on this mighty, mighty golf course, set up as it has been with all the different elements that have been thrown at it, from the weather to the political scene in golf to the pressure that has been exerted by some of the biggest names. It really has been an outstanding performance from the man who was eclipsed at Augusta and emerges into the limelight at Oak Hill. And now he is marching forward, and it's with real purpose, it's with real confidence, it's with a swagger, as he just points to the crowd with his right finger, nods his head, and they cheer. The Oak Hill crowds cheer the live golfer Brooks Koepka, who is going to add a 5th major title here and a 3rd PGA crown. And he goes down into the valley. There's a Norwegian flag flying, but this is a day for the Stars and Stripes. It's been a Ryder Cup-like contest between these two, Europe against America, America coming out on top undeniably as he comes up that steep slope up onto the putting surface. First Victor Hovland, and now Brooks Koepka, and he marches up. And this was someone who wondered if he'd ever be able to compete again when his right knee was shattered to pieces, and he's put it all back together again. He joined Liv at a time when he thought that maybe his competitive days were done. Well, how wrong he was there, and he bends down and he's received a rapturous ovation from these Oak Hill crowds, and it's all over bar the shouting now in terms of the 105th PGA Championship. Really has been an amazing performance, hasn't it, Zane?
It really has. I mean, as you said, the last 3 days, has another putt to have his 3rd straight 66. But today he's played so well. He really bookended his round. He had a fantastic drive off the first, good approach shot in, which really calmed him down after chatting to his message with his coach, called Harmon, earlier. So he was a bit jumpy on the range beforehand. That got him off to that good start. And then the 2 swings he's put on it down the 18th have been absolutely brilliant, into the tight part of the fairway from the tee, and then just a sensational approach shot, again pin high. a 9-iron from 177 yards, which shows how pumped up he is. It's not down, and that's not a downhill approach shot. And he now leaves himself a pretty simple putt to get to -10. But I thought for Victor Hovland though, Ian, I think Victor has looked very good all day, and he just came a cropper on that one shot on 16 that we saw Corey Connors come a cropper on yesterday.
We know, Kat, that Victor Hovland's pedigree is there for all to see, but to me he's looked more and more like a potential major winner, albeit in defeat today.
Yeah, well, he's been contending, hasn't he, at the two previous major champions, a tie for 4th and a tie for 7th at the Open and then at the Masters. But maybe there's just something there, the expectation that he spoke about, the pressure he puts on himself in that final push. And here he is with a final push, a putt for birdie on the 18th, 20 feet or so down the hill and across the green slightly, and this one looks really well judged from Hovland, and it goes in, and he raises his hand to the crowd, and just a little look of resignation on the face of the Norwegian. His first major championship title still out there, still waiting for him to come and claim, but a 2 under par round of 68 to finish. He finishes tied with Scheffler, who's in the clubhouse a couple of moments ago on 7 under par, and Koepka is now putting, Ian, for the championship.
He is, and he can do it absolutely stress-free at 9 under, 2 shots clear. This for birdie, this for a 3-shot win. Sends it forward, Koepka, and it comes up just a fraction shy, but the shortest of putts to win the biggest of majors. That's what it'll feel like to Brooks Koepka, because as he clenches his fist and his ball disappears into the hole, he's a major champion once again. He moves to 5 majors, 3 US PGA titles. He plays on the rival Live Tour, but he's proved you can play on that tour and still win big and still win the biggest prizes in golf. He's congratulated by Victor Hovland, and Brooks Koepka is the 2023 PGA champion at Oak Hill.
And a really emotional embrace from his caddy Ricky Elliott, who must have seen him through all kinds of ups and downs. Brooks Koepka, who, as Ian mentioned, thought that his competitive days were over, thought that maybe he couldn't contend with the big names, with the Scottish Schefflers, with the John Rahms, with the Rory McIlroys, but the smile on the face of Brooks Koepka is as wide as Allen's Creek that meanders across Oak Hill and the property here, and the golf course which Brooks Koepka has conquered. And he's been congratulated at the back of the 18th green by high fives and slaps on the back, and a popular champion. I think, Zane, there were question marks, weren't there? If a live golfer won this event, what would the reception be like? But everybody who is coming up to slap him on the back, he's walking now down through the tunnel of spectators. There's all kinds of whooping and hollering. He's a popular champion. The question has been answered.
A very popular champion. That embrace of his caddy on the 18th green, the look on his face, it just, I think for him, as Ian said, you know, he felt like he was done. And that was like a real moment as I'm back, I've got this, I've still got it, and there's just more to come. And the massive smiles and laughs with his pals there coming to congratulate him. Bryson there coming for a little handshake, that was quite nice to see as well. But yeah, just it's, I don't know, is it not? It wasn't even relief. I think it's just a real moment. He's back. I think we're going to see more from Brooks Koepka just over the next few months, certainly over the next few years. But the way that he's done it in such great style, it was his the whole way. He didn't let anybody get at him, as he gives a little embrace with your man there, Michael Block, the club pro. Yeah, a beaming smile on his face. He is so pleased with himself. He's embraced with his coach Claude Harmon.
Absolutely amazing scenes. I tell you, one thing that I haven't seen is any of the potential US Ryder Cup teammates sort of hanging back to see whether he would win. I may be being a tad unfair. I mean, we haven't seen Scotty Scheffler yet. There's Pete Cowan, his short game coach, giving him a huge hug. The man from Sheffield who's got the Midas touch with, and had the Midas touch with so many players in the past. He was thrilled to bits with that. And yeah, I mean, I think it's worth just thinking back to the state of his right knee, how miserable he was at the Masters last year when Scotty Scheffler was winning and he was missing the cut, the way that he went into such a deep degree of soul searching in the Netflix Full Swing documentary, which is the standout moment in the entire series, really. A man who's always shown a kind of impervious ego, looking so vulnerable in the interviews that he did there, and now he's a triumphant figure, 33 years of age, a 5 times major champion, and that puts him alongside the Australian great Peter Thompson from history, J.H. Taylor, Byron Nelson, James Braid, Seve Ballesteros, all 5-time winners of majors. He's within one of Mickelson and Trevino and Faldo. He's gone ahead of Ernie Els and Raymond Floyd and Bobby Locke, and as we've been saying, significantly, Rory McIlroy as well, and that is really quite the achievement for Brooks Koepka. He moves alongside Sam Snead, Gene Sarazen as 3-time winners. Only Tiger Woods with 4 and Jack Nicklaus with 5 have won more PGA titles. So you have to say he is climbing the rungs of the ladder of golfing history, and the significant thing is he is now doing it from a unique position, because we now have another tour in the game of golf, and whether you like it or you loathe it, whatever you think about it, you have to have the utmost respect for the golf of Brooks Koepka to come through that, to be playing 54-hole golf against weaker fields compared with the PGA Tour. I think we can say that unequivocally, and still come and turn up at majors and be able to conquer in the way that he did. He finished at 9 under par, a closing round of 67 to go with 2 66s. On this golf course is just simply brilliant.
It closes that narrative, doesn't it, that live golfers are unlikely to be competitive at major championships given the way that they play on the live tour. Cam Smith was asked about that after he finished his US PGA with a 65, finishing on 1 under, asked whether having 5 live golfers in the top 20 of the tournament should even be part of the conversation anymore.
I don't think so. I think I gave up on that narrative about 6 months ago, I think. I think there's been a few guys that have been trying to kick it along a little bit, but, we're still out there. We're still, we haven't forgot how to play golf. We're all great golfers out there, and we know what we can do, and I think, that's what we're trying to do.
So Cam Smith there, of course, the Open champion. He'll be defending his title at Hoylake later on this summer. And who's to say, Zane, there might not be another live golfer lifting the claret jug later on this summer.
It seems that way. It seems like these guys have still very much got it and are still very competitive. Ian, you might know, is Brooks Koepka still eligible for the Ryder Cup via a loophole?
Well, he is, because he's paid his dues, and he's on the list, as is Dustin Johnson, because they resigned from the PGA Tour, so they're not effectively suspended by the PGA Tour. So that means they've retained their PGA of America membership, which makes them eligible. And Zach Johnson was just sort of playing down all kinds of questions, saying he wasn't even really looking at live events. He didn't really know what courses they played, and it wasn't really a factor in his head as to whether or not. Well, you've now got a guy who has finished second in the Masters and won the PGA. It's inconceivable that if he is eligible for the American team, well, it's highly likely he's going to qualify, but let's say he doesn't. How do you not pick the winner of the US PGA when he's finished second at the Masters as well? I know John Daly won the US PGA back in the day and didn't get in, and the Open actually, and didn't get in either time. But they were kind of seen as freakish results with Daly, and he didn't have the body of work to back it up. You can't ignore Brooks Koepka for the American Ryder Cup team now. And what does that do to the dynamic of the team in terms of PGA Tour loyalists, and Koepka coming up against a McIlroy? I mean, it just adds so much to the intrigue of the Ryder Cup come September. But I'd be amazed if Koepka's not there.
Yeah, that's really given Zach Johnson a real headache, that one. And to back it up now, I think you're going to see a couple more players come through. I mean, Yeah, as you said, he's arguably the best player in the world right now. To have done what he's done in his first 2 majors, and the way that he's kind of striding around and his mannerisms are, I don't think there's anything that's going to change. As you say, it's not a freakish win, and kudos to him really to kind of have what happened to him at the Masters, which would have hurt, which would have been playing on his mind, to come bounce straight back and put all those demons to bed so quickly. It's been fantastic to watch.
Well, he made a promise, didn't he? He said, I know what I did at the Masters, and I promise I won't do it again tomorrow, in his post-round interview. So a promise that he made to the TV cameras, but a promise I'm sure he's made to himself.
Yeah, and to talk the talk is one thing, but to then walk it is really impressive. And I stand by what I said at the start of the programme, that Koepka is like a heavyweight boxer at the weigh-in who is not going to give an inch and is going to talk himself up and try and intimidate the opposition, and that's what he does. But that list of final round scores that I read out at the start was the only one that wasn't was 70. Everything else was higher when he's been in the top 10 going into the final round of a major, and he's done it half a dozen times. So titles have slipped from his grasp, not just Augusta last week or last month. And so this I think really speaks volumes for the kind of mental strength that he has, that is allied to obviously brilliant technique, powerful physique, renewed fitness. It just makes him a formidable golfing machine going forward, and it gives Liv such a calling card now, because their next tournament, it's going to be their next tournament that will have the most recent major winner in it, and that is going to bring eyeballs to Liv. It has to. It's going to take, journalists will go to Liv events now, because that's where they'll get the chance to speak to the man of the golfing moment, and that all adds to a real virtuous circle that Liv now has, which is extraordinary, isn't it, when you consider a narrative which has such superstars on the PGA Tour as Jon Rahm, Rory McIlroy and Scottie Scheffler. It's such an intriguing time for the game of golf.
Do you think it does? Do you think it improves the prospect and the offering of Liv? Or, it's still the format it is. It's still 54 holes. There's still no cut. It's still $200,000 to whoever comes last. There's nothing to play for. It's not a very compelling thing to watch. It doesn't matter if you're watching Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau and all these big names kind of ding-donging away. It's just not a very compelling sporting prospect, Zane.
Well, it's so different to what we're used to, but I think that what this does is it adds context to it, because there's been no context to this point where we've what does it mean if a player wins a Liv event? What does it mean if a player wins a PGA Tour event? We know exactly what that means. We know where that sits in the golfing world. Now, Brooks Koepka performing well in majors, winning majors. Essentially, he's not up on the world rankings, but we know he's arguably one of the best player in the world at the moment. Now it adds a bit of context, because now if someone beats him down the stretch, or if he wins another one, we've got something to gauge it against. We go, okay, if you're beating Brooks, week in, week out, and he's playing well. We know how well he's playing because we've seen him on our TV screens all weekend. So we can kind of add a little bit of context to it, whereas beforehand, that hasn't been the case. Yeah, it has been a bit flat, watching the Liv events, because you think, he's won that tournament, but what does that really mean? Whereas now, you can, well, actually, these guys are winning majors, so if you do win a Liv event, it will mean a bit more.
Yeah, it's a very good way of looking at it, Ian.
Yeah, it's for the sake of argument, at the next Liv tournament, Koepka and DeChambeau are going head to head, and Cam Smith comes into contention as well. And the event that we've just had, Cam Smith was beaten in a playoff by Dustin Johnson. That was the first one where the big names have come to the surface. And because, for the very fact that Brooks Koepka has just won this tournament, we're now talking about Liv Golf. That's it, instantaneously having a beneficial effect to the new tour. It's put it on the agenda. It's just there, and you can't ignore it. And you may have deep reservations because of the source of the money, because of what it's doing to golf and the fracturing of the game and the schisms that are at play and the legal action and all of the controversies that go with it. But it's there, and some of the world's very best golfers are playing on that circuit and not on the PGA Tour, and this victory for Brooks Koepka brings that into the sharpest focus.
Well, watch out then for the next live event. And of course, the next major championship will be the US Open in a month's time in Los Angeles. Let's have a bit of a reflection, shall we, on Rory McIlroy, who finished tied 7th on 2 under par after a 1 under round of 69 today. And afterwards, he was asked how he'll reflect on his week at Oak Hill.
I'll look back on this week as proud of how I hung in there and I guess my attitude and sticking to it, not having my best stuff, but probably not a ton of memorable golf shots hit. My playing partner today hit a couple of memorable golf shots. So it was, the atmosphere out there playing with Michael was unbelievable. We both got amazing support, but he got unbelievable support, understandably so, being in this position as a club pro and playing so well and, competing into the latter stages of a major championship. It was really impressive. And, it was nice to go out there and share the course with him for 18 holes.
Knowing you were struggling with your game coming into this week, how do you value or assess your tournament?
I feel sort of close, but also so far away at the same time. It's hard to explain. I feel like sometimes it was the worst I could have played, but then at the same time, it's like the best I could have done. It's a weird, I'm sort of, it just doesn't feel quite where it needs to be. And again, just need to go back home and work on some stuff. And I guess just try to figure it out. So it's a week like this, there's some good parts and some bad parts. And it's just trying to sort of pick all those pieces out and obviously see what you can do better and sort of just move on from there.
The thoughts of Rory McIlroy down on the 18th green. Let's hear the thoughts of Michael Block, the low PGA professional, and his dream come true week.
And then Roy turns around and he comes and gives me a hug. I was like, Roy's giving me a hug for hitting it like 10 feet. I'm like, that's cool. And and I go, did it go in the hole? And he's like, yeah, it went in the hole. I was like, cool. So yeah, pretty cool.
Yes, it did. That par on 18 ensured we will be seeing you in 2024 at Valhalla. Congratulations. No qualifying necessary.
That's Amanda Renner of CBS talking to Michael Block, who was referencing his hole-in-one on the 15th.
It is my honor on behalf of all of the PGA professionals across the country who work tirelessly to grow the game each and every day to present the Wanamaker Trophy to an individual who now joins Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods as the only 3-time winner of this event in the stroke play era, the 2023 PGA champion Brooks Koepka.
He stands hands on hips and then strides forward and raises his right hand to acknowledge the cheers and the applause. And he high-fives with Michael Block, who offers words of congratulations as he clutches the Crystal Trophy. And now it's all about the biggest trophy in golf, certainly in size, the Wanamaker Trophy. It's in the hands of Brooks Koepka and is raised aloft, and it glints in the evening sunshine in New York State. And it's something that he is very, very familiar with. The 3rd time he has lifted that precious metal.
Brooks,
and here he is talking to Amanda
after
Renner.
the Masters, you figured out your mistakes and you promised us you wouldn't make it again. What did you figure out about yourself that allowed you to stay true to that promise and claim your 3rd PGA championship and 5th major title?
This is incredible. This is wild. I look back at where we were 2 years ago. Everything that's going on, I'm just so happy right now. I'm kind of at a loss for words, but this is just the coolest thing.
You have been so vulnerable and open about your self-doubts through injuries, wondering if emotionally you could ever get back here again. How satisfying is it to reach the pinnacle in major championship golf for a 5th time?
Yeah, it's incredible. I don't know the list of guys, how many guys have won 5 times, but to be with those groups of names is absolutely incredible. Something I'll be honest, I'm not even sure if I dreamed of it as a kid that I was going to win this many, but this is the coolest thing, and I'm just happy to do it in front of these New York fans. I love you guys. I mean, I think we got 3 majors in New York, so New York's been, I guess, a second home for me. So it's pretty special, and then Oak Hill, it's been phenomenal. This golf course, the beating it took with the rain yesterday, phenomenal shape. So props to the green staff, everybody here at Oak Hill, and the PGA.
Well, the answer to your question is you're just the 20th player in history to reach 5 or more majors. An absolutely remarkable week for you, Brooks Koepka. Congratulations. Soak this one in.
And he picks up the trophy once again and lofts it high into the sky using both arms. The heaviest trophy in golf, undoubtedly, but it looks like a thimble in his hands in terms of the weight. Such powerful figure. Wow. I go back to what I said, and he referenced it there as well. 2 years ago, down and out physically and mentally, clearly, and now back on top of the world, even if the world rankings won't quite say that when they come out tomorrow.
Well, interestingly, though, Ian, with this win, Koepka moves into the top 6 in the Ryder Cup points, and therefore he will qualify for the Ryder Cup team as it stands for the US. And Scotty Scheffler was asked about this in his press conference afterwards. He was asked, irrespective of what tour he was on, would he take Koepka on the USA Ryder Cup team?
I mean, I want to win the Ryder Cup. I don't care about tours or anything like that. I want to win the Ryder Cup. Something we talked about, last year when we finished, or I guess it was like a year and a half ago now, but we want to beat those guys in Europe. It's been a long time since we beat them, and whoever the best 12 guys that make a complete team. It's different than an individual tournament. We want a team of guys that are going over there together to bring the cup back home, and that's really all I care about.
I think Scotty Scheffler referencing the fact that it's been a long time since the US won on European soil, because obviously there was an absolute pounding for the European team on US soil at Whistling Straits a couple of years ago. But there you go, Ian. There's the perspective you were saying, that actually this just brings the tours a little bit closer. It's a blurring of the lines, and it's all about the good golf at the end of the day.
I think so, and he didn't sort of effuse with enthusiasm for Brooks Koepka as a character there, but certainly as a golfer he left the door wide open, and that's the official world number one speaking there. Weighty words from Scotty Scheffler. And the America haven't won in Europe since 1993. They've not done it this century, and that is the driving force for the American team. Yes, they won by a record margin at Whistling Straits. Now they want to ram it home against the European team, which, let's face it, has plenty of talent in it. And this has been a good PGA as far as the Europeans are concerned, with Hovland obviously on that leaderboard, McIlroy on it, Sepp Straka showing signs of form, Justin Rose, Shane Lowry, Tyrrell Hatton, they're all in the top 20 here this week, which is very encouraging for Luke Donald. But Donald will not relish going up against Brooks Koepka if he maintains this form when we get to the end of September. And at the end of September, of course, we'll have full commentary from the Ryder Cup from the Marco Simone golf course just outside the Italian capital. What do you rate the Europeans' chances are heading into that Ryder Cup, Ian, given the strength of Brooks Koepka? We've seen Bryson DeChambeau up there on the list, although I'm not sure he can qualify, can he, for the US? No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure he can. But some of those. Look, sorry, the Americans are so. The Americans are so strong, undoubtedly. But Europe have got a lot of momentum. I mean, they've been winning tournaments. They've got Jon Rahm as well. Obviously he didn't have a great week this week, finishing in a share of 50th place, but he's a superstar. This could boil into one of the great Ryder Cups, and the one thing that this biennial match has lacked of late has been a really tight contest. We've not had that since 2012 and the miracle of Medina, when Europe sneaked it by a single point. And I think that's what, if you can have a neutral perspective, say I was an Aussie, I'd be saying, well, the biggest thing that I want is a close match, and I think that's what the Ryder Cup needs. And it could be that the Americans sneak it, it could be that Europe sneak it, but I think it'll be a very difficult one to predict.
Yeah, it looks incredibly close. You mentioned, the top placings at this major championship. It's obviously Brooks Koepka and Scotty Scheffler, but then Victor Hovland, Cam Davis, who's Australian, obviously, Kurt Kitayama, Bryson DeChambeau, then Sepp Straka, Rory McIlroy, Patrick Cantlay in there for the US, then Justin Rose, Shane Lowry and Victor Perez. So there's a good mix on the major championship leaderboard this way around. There's a chink of light for Luke Donald and his team.
Yeah, there definitely is, but I think it does smack a bit of the last one. We really need Jon Rahm and Rory McIlroy to step up. I do feel like we have got fantastic players, but maybe our Fleetwood or so forth not quite firing as. Yes, they're playing well, but they're not doing what Brooks is doing right now. So I think there's a bit more depth in the American team, but it's on European soil, so a course that's very suited to the Europeans, and they've Luke will be taking the players over there, and it's going to be, as we know, it's been a bit of a home venue kind of tournament the last few years because they do set it up differently. The Americans do play slightly different golf and have a slightly different attitude towards their game than the Europeans would. So I think it's going to be a much more interesting contest than we thought it would have been when Live Golf first came around. It seemed like, that with the team's going to be decimated, is the Ryder Cup going to be around? But as it is, it's actually really hotting up to be a really good challenge. And I think, and just stories like this, I think it is a shame, I think, that, the golf world does seem a bit more fractured, but there's a bit more to talk about. There's a bit more needle now. And then I think as the world gets back to, good golf always prevails, that it just seems to move on. And Brooks Koepka being the first Live golfer to win a major, while playing on the Live Tour, that's not now another question. Does that push the PGA Tour to thinking, we need to have less tournaments, and how does that go? These guys at the top of their game, being a bit more rested, having a bit more energy, it's obviously really, really paying off for them.
Do you think that was maybe a problem for Jon Rahm then, Ian? A little bit too much golf this week?
I think he was just off, and it was a golf course that if you were a bit off, his putter was stone cold, and if you fall behind, it was hard to fight back. And I think that's why I give Rory McIlroy huge credit to finish in a share of 7th place when his A game wasn't here, and Jon Rahm he was just never in the mood. He had a go at a cameraman. He smashed a microphone. He was just. It just wasn't his week, and that can happen, obviously. And it's worth remembering that this time last year, Scotty Scheffler missed the cut after winning the Masters so brilliantly. These things can happen, but we're in a really, really good era for golf right now, albeit with schisms at play, which add to the interest, I think. But now Koepka sits alongside Scheffler, sits alongside Rahm, sits alongside McIlroy as real superstars at the top of the game. And we go to the US Open, and it could be that someone else, say a DeChambeau wins there, and he's won the US Open before, then you'd have to say, well, he's in the mix. And by the time we get to Hoylake, there'll be so many different talking points, and I think that's really very healthy for the game of golf, albeit in a scenario which has been a little out of character for the game and distasteful at times since the arrival of Liv.
Two heavyweight major winners, though, for the first two majors of the year in the men's game. Jon Rahm, of course, taking the Masters title last month, and then Brooks Koepka, who is still out on the 18th green, raising that enormous Wanamaker trophy, a beefcake of a player and a beefcake of a trophy. Zane, thank you so much for your company this evening. Ian, thank you as well, out in Rochester, New York, for giving us all the colour from the course. We'll be back with full coverage of the US Open from Thursday the 15th to Sunday the 19th of June from the Los Angeles Country Club. Nice trip out there for Ian, where Matt Fitzpatrick, of course, who missed the cut this week, will be looking to defend his title. So that's the next major championship coming up for you on 5 Live in about a month's time. But next here on 5 Live, it's the latest episode of How to Buy a Football Club. That is all after the news with Stuart Clarkson.
Listen on BBC Sounds.